हा, आता आला, लाईव्ह झालेला आहे.
रमेश प्रभू सरांनी रजिस्ट्रेशन केलेलं आहे लिंकला.
बरं बरं.
नाही, रमेश प्रभू सरांनी याच्यासाठी लिंकला रजिस्ट्रेशन केलेलं आहे का?
पहा ना, तुमच्या याच्यात दिसेल ना.
नाही, माझ्या इथे तरी दिसत नाही, कारण त्यांना तुम्ही मेसेज पाठवलेला का?
हा, लिंक पाठवली मी त्यांना.
ओके. पण काय आहे, सरांना जर मी आपण कोणती जरी लिंक शेअर केली जर जॉईनिंगसाठी, तर ते ज्याची लिंक असेल त्या नावाने जॉईन होणार.
हो, अच्छा, असं आहे का?
हा,
नाही तर रजिस्ट्रेशनची लिंक दिली होती मी त्यांना. आपली झूम रजिस्ट्रेशनची लिंक आहे ना, त्यांना फोन लावून विचारा बरं, काही प्रॉब्लेम येत आहे का, त्यांना विचारा बरं.
जरा मला मेसेज कराल सरांचा.
बरं, थांबा, मीच लावतो.
हो, ठीक आहे.
हॅलो, सुशांत सर, गुड मॉर्निंग. सुशांत सर, व्हेरी गुड मॉर्निंग. अमित सर, व्हेरी गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
कैसे सर?
ठीक है एकदम. आप कैसे हो सर?
एकदम बढ़िया, फर्स्ट क्लास. We also have with us Amit Mahaure sir.
Hello
Very
sir.
good morning, Amit sir.
Yes, good morning.
सर, प्रभू सर इनॉग्रलला राहणार ना?
काय आयडिया नाही, त्यांचा आवाज खूपच खराब होता ऍक्च्युली.
हो का?
इनॉग्रलला कदाचित येतील ते, पण आता व्हॉट्सअपवर तर ऍक्टिव्ह नाही दिसत आहे.
अच्छा अच्छा, चालेल चालेल. त्यांना मिळाली ना लिंक वगैरे सगळं प्रॉपरली?
सरांना मिळाले नाही मिळाले म्हटलं ना, व्हॉट्सअपवर ऍक्टिव्ह दिसत नाही येते, म्हणूनच मी सुनील सरांना फोन केलेला. त्यांच्याकडनं तुमचे डिटेल्स घेतले.
अच्छा,
मग तुम्हाला फोन केला.
नाही चालेल, काहीच प्रॉब्लेम नाही सर.
ठीक आहे, चालेल, मी आहे कनेक्टेड.
बिलकुल बिलकुल, चालेल सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग पवन भाई।
पवन सर, वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग। कैसे हो सर?
बस मैं बढ़िया हूँ, आप बोलिए।
एकदम बढ़िया।
राइट राइट राइट। अभी
चलो बढ़िया, कर दिया आपके ग्रुप में सर्कुलेट?
हाँ, अभी वापस कर दिया, आ जाएंगे अभी तक।
ओके ओके।
ओके।
स्वप्नील सर, दंडाळे जी, सादाळे जी। सर गुड मॉर्निंग। आवाज नहीं आ रही थी मधुर सर
गुड
आपकी।
मॉर्निंग सर, गुड मॉर्निंग।
चलो बढ़िया,
क्या
बहुत बढ़िया बैकग्राउंड है सर आपका।
यार ये कहाँ से हो गया पता नहीं चला यार, अभी तक नहीं पता है।
नहीं अच्छा है, कुछ चीज राज ही रहना देना चाहिए।
नहीं, ये राज नहीं, ये कुछ अलग हो गया ऑटोमेटिक। क्या होते स्पीकर सर से बातचीत?
बस स्पीकर सर अभी 2 मिनट में ज्वाइन करेंगे।
चलेगा।
हाँ हाँ, अपन शार्प 10 बजे चालू कर देंगे।
हाँ कर देंगे ना।
हाँ
बाकी ब्रांचेस से बातचीत होगी?
हाँ हाँ, सब आ रहे हैं अभी 5-10 मिनट में सब आ जाएंगे।
बराबर।
हाँ, अभी 15 मिनट टाइम है, 9:45 हुए।
ललित सर का भी सेशन है ना नांदुरबार में? सर म्यूट है क्या?
धुले में है सर शायद।
हाँ
धुले में
नांदुरबार
कि
कहाँ? धुले है कि नांदुरबार?
पता नहीं, आज है शायद।
सेकंड हाफ में आई थी, है ना? है ना? मौका मिला तो एंड में एक बार अनाउंस कर देना ना, अमरावती ब्रांच के
हाँ
पवन सर, है ना? सेकंड
हाँ,
हाफ
कर
में
दूंगा ना सर।
एटलीस्ट अनाउंस तो कर देना। मुझे कंफ्यूजन है वर्चुअल है कि नहीं, आई डोंट थिंक सो, फिजिकल है शायद से।
ललित सर का क्या?
हाँ वर्चुअल तो नहीं है ना उसमें कुछ?
नहीं, पहले पढ़ लेता, मैं भी देख लेता हूँ।
तो भी अनाउंस होता होगा तो कर देना एक बार।
हाँ we have with us our today's speaker, C. Sunil sir, Nagaonkar sir. Very good morning, sir. Sir, you are on mute mode.
Hello, very good morning.
गुड मॉर्निंग रितु भाई।
Good morning, sir.
गुड मॉर्निंग वन एंड ऑल।
Our today's speaker Sunil sir has also joined.
Good morning, sir.
Output. The audio. Hello,
Sunil sir, now you are audible, sir.
तो साहेब ह्याला बोलणार आहे रे, हे काढल्यानंतर येईल का आवाज?
सर आवाज येतोय ना आपला? क्लिअर आवाज येतोय?
हे तुम्ही बोलल्यावर बाहेर मोठ्याने आवाज यायसाठी मोबाईल लावून इथे लावायचं किंमत विमान ते हे करा, फ्लाईट मोड करा. चार्जिंग आहे काय? मोबाईल फ्लाईट मोड केलाय ना, व्हॉट्सअप करा. म्यूट नको आपला unmute.
सुनील सर आवाज येतो?
हो येतोय आवाज येतोय.
सर आपला एकदा पीपीटी शेअर करून पाहून घ्या ना एकदा, म्हणजे काही प्रॉब्लेम वगैरे.
हो चालेल.
एक मिनिट
हो,
पहिले मी
share कर.
को होस्ट बनवतो सर. सुशांत सर,
सर बोला की.
स्पीकर सरांना होस्ट आणि बाकी चेअरमॅन नाही.
हो तेच ते स्वप्नील बरोबरच फोनवर आहे मी, करायला लागलो. एकच मिनिट.
हा, सुनील नागावकर सरांना.
हो.
चार्जिंग चालू ठेवा.
विक्की बिर्ला सर, एक बार शेयर कर दो ना. वी विल स्टार्ट शार्प एट 10 o'clock.
ओके यस, जस्ट किया ही सर मैंने.
हाँ.
पर कर देता हूँ.
सुनील सर, आता तुम्ही झालेले को होस्ट, आता शेअर करून पहा ना सर एकदा.
हो करतोय.
शेअर करून बघा स्लाइड.
हो डाउनलोड केलेलं मेलवर आहे ना.
इथे द्यायला पाहिजे.
नाही, डेस्कटॉपवर घेतलेलं आहे दोन्ही.
इथं
हो
ओके.
डेस्कटॉपवर आहे. काल रात्रीच मी लॅपटॉपवर डाउनलोड केलेले आहे.
पवन सर, अजून कुणा होस्ट करायचंय?
एक
तुम्हाला केले, मला केले, पवन सरांना करायला सांगितलंय.
अमितना पण करा. अमित मोहरेंना करा.
अमित मोहारे सर. हा,
अमित मोहरे सरांना पण करा.
ह्याच्यात आहे ना लॅपटॉप.
केले सर अमित सरांना.
बरोबर, चालेल.
झाले ना सगळे?
थोड्या वेळात प्रभू सर येतील.
ओके.
त्यांनाही पोस्ट बनवून टाका.
हा.
अपलोड करूया.
सर, आपल्यासोबत एक अकोल्याचे चेअरमॅन हिरेन जोगी सर आहे, त्यांनी को होस्ट करावं लागेल.
हो करायला सांगतो.
हे मॅकबुक काय वेगळंच आहे.
सर, शेअर स्क्रीन मध्ये जाऊन शेअर कम्प्युटर स्क्रीन करा ना, तर मग ते त्याच्यावर होईल.
हो, शेअर इथं शेअरला जाणार.
कुठे शेअर आहे?
इथं होतं की आता 1 मिनिट चालू.
शेअरलाच गेलो आपण.
ते सिक्युरिटी मध्ये जाऊन अलाऊ म्हणजे त्याच्यात आपल्या सेंटर मध्येच असेल, चॅटच्या बाजूला.
शेअर स्क्रीन.
हिरेन सर, व्हेरी गुड मॉर्निंग. चेअरमॅन अकोला ब्रांच.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
सर, यू आर.
हॅलो.
गुड मॉर्निंग.
व्हॉट्सअप कॉल.
Well, sir. All good. Very pleasant morning.
हॅलो.
गुड मॉर्निंग हिरेन सर.
माझी ऑनलाईन मीटिंग चालू आहे.
Good morning. How are you all? All good?
फाईन. येस, ऑल गुड.
इथे दाखवायला डेस्कटॉप पुढे दाखवा ना.
बन्सीला फोन लावू नको. हे डेस्कटॉपला आले नाही.
डेस्कटॉप कुठे आहे?
हे वे डेस्कटॉप.
हेच आलं ना.
बन्सीला फोन लाव, पटकन लाव. माझा व्हिडिओ का गेला प्रभू?
ऑफ केला. त्याचा झूम मीटिंग चालत आहे. म्हणजे आम्ही स्क्रीन शेअर केलाय, पण स्क्रीन शेअर केल्यावर आम्हाला डेस्कटॉपवरची फाईलची दाखवायची आहे. म्हणजे कुठं दाखवायचं? हो की, पण तिथं कसं जायचं? शेअर स्क्रीन आम्ही केलाय, तिथं मग जायचं कसं? शेअर स्क्रीन केल्यानंतर हो की, पण ते उघडायचं कसं? कारण झूम स्क्रीनच दाखवते आता तिथं. पहिला फाईल उघडून ठेवायचं का? आता हे मिनिमाइज कुठून करायचं? हा, येल्लो. ओके ओके, येल्लो कलरचा आहे. ती फाईल पहिला उघडूनच ठेवू का मग? सुनील काका म्हणून आहे फोल्डर त्याला. एक मिनिट, पण चालू राहतो. ते आता ओपन करून ठेवले फाईल. झुमिंग कसं आहे? ते ग्रीन आहे, ते झुमिंग आहे का? फुल स्क्रीन होऊन जाईल. ठीक आहे, एवढी ठीक आहे.
याला तर शेअर करावे.
आता ते जुना मेनू परत इकडे कसा घ्यायचा?
सुनील सर, ऑलरेडी स्क्रीन शेअर्ड आहे सर आपली. फक्त एकदा प्ले करून पहा सर पेपरी.
परफेक्ट आहे सर, आता दिसतंय. हा, सर फॉर द टायमिंग याला हे करा. सुनील सर,
समोर गाडी येतात त्या समोर मागं जातात त्या मागे म्यूट केली का बस.
सुनील सर,
हा
हे दिसतंय आता सर PPT.
हा
इनॉग्रल सेशन पर्यंत यायला pause करा.
काय करू?
5 मिनिटानंतर सेट झालेलं आहे. 5 मिनिटात स्क्रीन करा सर, म्हणजे सध्या स्टॉप स्क्रीन शेअर स्क्रीन करा त्याच्यानंतर म्हणजे बस. विकी भाई प्रभु सर ज्वाइन कर रहे 2 मिनट में, उसके बाद हम चालू करते हैं.
ओके ओके ओके.
प्रभु सर से एक बार बात करते हैं.
हाँ बात कर लीजिए.
होणार आहे काय प्रॉब्लेम.
नको पुढे
प्रभु सर है जॉइन. गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
स्टॉप कर.
चालू नाही केलेलं.
नाही ना.
स्टार्ट पुढे केलं.
हा ठीक आहे.
प्रभु सर, am I audible?
Very good morning, Prabhu sir.
I think his voice is not audible. Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. No, sir. Still not audible. I think there is a problem in his microphone.
सर माईकची सेटिंग करावी लागेल प्रभू सर.
दिसलं नाही मॅडम सर, ते काय प्रायव्हेट सेटिंग झाले.
नाही प्रभू सर आवाज येत नाही यातला. माईकचं सेटिंग इथे पहा, म्हणजे आपलं म्यूटच्या ठिकाणी माईक वगैरे तिथे काय दुसरं ऑप्शन घेऊन पहा ना सर. इकडे
I think there is a problem in his microphone. एकदा हेडफोन रिमूव्ह करून पहा सर.
पब्लिक जाऊ दे की.
पब्लिक हा सगळ्यांना जाऊ दे. हा ठीक आहे. पोस्ट स्टोरीला पोस्ट होते.
Okay. Prabhu sir का मैसेज I will do the needful once I join from the office on laptop. ठीक है. विकी भाई. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. Hello and very good morning to one and all. I am C. Vicky Birla, chairperson of Jalgaon branch of WISC of ICI. All of you to today's VCM on capacity building measures for members in practice. Organized by Committee of Members in Practice ICI and hosted jointly by Jalgaon, Amravati, Ahmednagar, Akola and Kolhapur branches of ICI. I welcome our today's learned speakers, C.A. Sunil Nagaonkar sir and C.A. Ramesh Prabhu sir. I also welcome and acknowledge C.A. Pawan Jaju sir, chairperson of Amravati branch, C.A. Pawan Darak sir, chairperson of Ahmednagar branch, C.A. Hiren Jogi sir, chairperson of Akola branch, C.A. Sushant Gundale sir, chairperson of Kolhapur branch, and all the managing committee members of all the 5 branches. Members, in today's seminar, we will be covering the much needed topics for the members in practice. Our first webinar is on audit of urban cooperative bank and society audit report. And second one is all about housing societies, formation, compliances, return and taxation. Now, let's move ahead. I would like to invite C.A. Pawan Jaju sir, chairperson of Amravati branch, to welcome the gathering and to give opening remarks.
Thank you, Vicky bhai. Thank you, Vicky bhai. First of all, a very good morning to our today's eminent speaker, C. Sunil Nagavkar, Nagavkar sir, who is from Kolhapur, who will be taking care of audit of urban cooperative bank and new format of credit society audit report. We also have with us CA Ramesh Prabhu sir, who is from Mumbai, who will be taking care about all about housing society from formation to taxation. We also have with us C. Amit Muhare sir, who is from Dombivali, who will be also taking care of housing society issues. We also have with us CA RCM C. Abhijit Kelkar sir. A very good morning. Our today's program is under capacity building measures for practitioners. In absentia, program chairman C. Prakash Sharma sir, and in absence of program vice chairman C. Purushottam Khandelwal sir, we are moving ahead due to some emergency issues. They are out of country. So let's move ahead. I wish you all a very happy learning. We also have with us chairperson of Ahmednagar C. Pawan Bhai, chairperson Akola C. Hiren Jogi sir, chairperson Jalgaon branch Vicky Bhai, chairperson Kolhapur C. Sushant Mundale sir, and all the executive members from all the branches and all the participants. I wish you all a very happy learning. Let's move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan Bhai. I also acknowledge and welcome RCM C. Abhijit Kelkar sir. With his permission, now let's move ahead to our first technical session, audit of urban cooperative bank and new format of credit society audit report. I request C. Sushant Mundale sir, chairperson of Kolhapur branch, to please give a brief introduction of the speaker, C. A. Sunil Nagavkar sir. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
It's pleasure to introduce the CA Sunil Nagavkar sir. He is MCom, FCA, DISA, and also holds the PhD. He is a co-opted member of Cooperative Committee of WIRC of ICAI, faculty of ICAI in banking, founder partner of Sunil Nagavkar and Company Chartered Accountant. He is ex-secretary of the Kolhapur branch of ICAI, empanelment for Maharashtra Cooperative Society since 1995, and also CAG empanelment, having PhD in credit appraisal in urban cooperative banks, member of State Government Committee on Audit Manual of Cooperative Societies, faculty for the Maharashtra State Cooperative Federation and Kolhapur Urban Cooperative Bank Federation. He is also author of a book on audit of cooperative society. He is a secretary of the Kolhapur Chartered Accountant Society, and he is practicing since last 24 years in the field of audit, taxation with the bank audit, various types of cooperative societies, and project consultancy. Project consultant for the World Bank project of MACP, that is Maharashtra Agriculture Competitive Program. He has delivered lecture at various branches of ICAI on the topics like cooperative banking, accounting, management of the UCBs, legal compliances of cooperative societies. Deliver lecture on the bank branch audit, urban cooperative banks, credit cooperative societies, and public trust on the topics like IRAC norms, camel rating, KYC, anti-money laundering, audit provision of MSC Act 1960 on various topics of the interest at the CS Study Circle, branches, and the various seminars organized by Bank Federation, cooperative banks, and NGOs. Member of Board of Management of Shri Varna Sahakari Bank, Varna Nagar. Is also Technical Director of Kurundwad Urban Bank. He is a professional director for various private limited companies. He is holding Rashtriya Pratibha Ratna Puraskar by the Maharashtra Patrakar Sangha and also holding Samaj Prabodhan Puraskar by Kolhapur Municipal Corporation. It's our honor to have you, sir, today with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Sunil sir, can we hear Abhijit Kelkar sir? Abhijit sir, can you please share your views with the gathering?
Thank you, Chairman. I recognize all the enthusiastic and energetic chairman of all the 5 branches. This is the power of technology. 5 branches across region can have a combined program and can have best of the best faculties like Nagavkar sir and Prabhu sir, who will be sharing their knowledge on this occasion. My best wishes and compliments to all the branches, their committee members, and I wish happy learning throughout this program. Thank you for this opportunity, Chairman, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. One announcement: members are requested to post their query in chat box. We will be having query session at the end of the session. Now, without wasting the time, now I request Sunil sir to please guide us on the topic. Over to you,
Yeah.
Sunil.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all the branches who invited me to deliver lecture like burning issue of this cooperative, urban cooperative banks, because right now the major shift has been made by the Reserve Bank of India for the appointment of auditors by Reserve Bank of India, and so they are issuing letters of appointment, and the terms of references given by the Reserve Bank of India has given us the idea how the audit has to be conducted, because previously we are conducting the audit on the basis of the Maharashtra State Cooperative Societies Act and RBI circular, but after the appointment letter issued by Reserve Bank of India, the major change has been made, and the shift is to more focused on the RBI circular and master directions. So we need to have a discussion regarding the scope of the audit of urban cooperative banks today. Then another announcement has been made by Registrar of Cooperative Societies, Commissioner of Cooperation, regarding the format of the Credit Cooperative Society on 4th April 2022. For the audit of 2021-22, we need to have a separate format. We need to apply separate format for the audit of urban cooperative banks. And now we will discuss on both the issues. I suppose everyone is well versed with the bank audit as such, but I will only touch upon the issues which are given by the Reserve Bank of India letters, because all other is there is one guidance note of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India on bank audit. There is again one guidance notice going on to be prepared within for 6 months regarding the guidance note of audit on urban cooperative banks. So everyone is well versed with the audit of banks, but I will focus on what has been changed after the new Banking Regulation Act 2022, because on 29th of September, new Banking Regulation Act has been amended and the appointment of the auditor has been shifted to the Reserve Bank of India. And what are the modalities and what are the conditions on the basis of which they are appointing the auditors is to be seen in light of the circular of Reserve Bank of India on 27th April 2021. I will discuss what kind of procedure Reserve Bank of India is adopting for appointment of auditor of urban cooperative banks. I will discuss by way of the this PPT. Just I am sharing this PPT. Just a moment. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Now, yes. Next. First, we will have to discuss about the appointment of statutory auditors of urban cooperative banks by RBI, and what is the eligibility criteria of auditors, what is the process of appointment of auditors, and what are the documents required to be submitted to Reserve Bank of India. So we will discuss one by one. As per the circular of 27th April 2021, RBI is empowered to give assent to the appointment of auditors by AGM of UCB. Now, what happened is there is one provision in the Maharashtra State Cooperative Societies Act wherein we have to appoint the auditors in the AGM itself. But after the amendment of this Banking Regulation Act, the appointment of auditors is to be made by AGM, made by Board of Directors immediately before 31st of July, and RBI has to give consent regarding on the basis of the preferences given by the bank. There has to be two preferences, and Reserve Bank of India is selecting one. I am also surprised that in many cases Reserve Bank of India has appointed second preference auditors due to some other criteria that we can later on discuss on about how they are selecting the auditors. So the major shift is there is no appointment by mono appointment to be made by AGM. Now RBI has the power to appoint the auditors on the basis of the names given or recommended by the banks as such. Next is there is one criteria. There are 3 categories of banks having specified number of partners and partners and audit experience, the number of staff required, and regarding DISA and all, they are appointing the auditors. So there are 3 categories. One is the asset size of bank more than 15,000 crores, asset size 1,000 crores to 15,000 crores, and the banks which 1,000 crores. Normally, out of 454 banks, there are about more than 300 banks are in 1,000 less than 1,000 crores asset size. So this circular is for the all banks, including scheduled commercial banks and including NBFC and all banking sector as such. So the shift of RBI is more focused on the auditor appointment on the basis of the asset side. Next. So there are all about 5 criteria on the basis of which the auditor has been selected. One is how many full-time partners are there, how many fellow chartered accountants are there, and whether there is any CISA or DISA qualified chartered accountant, and what is the number of experience that audit firm is having, and what are the number of professional staffs that firm is having. So for 15,000 crores and above banks, there should be full-time partners should be 5. Out of 5, there should be 4 FCAs. Out of the 5 CAs, there should be 2 DISA or CISA qualified chartered accountants, and that audit experience of that particular firm should be of 15 years, and the number of professional staffs required of 18 numbers. So this is the basic criteria on the basis of which the auditor has been selected by Reserve Bank of India. And for 1,000 to 15,000 crores, there are the number of partners required in the firm are 3 partners. FCA should be 2. Minimum number of DISA should be 1. The number of the audit experience of the firm should be 8 years, and number of professional staff should be more than 12. So this is a basic criteria. And for less than 1,000 crore bank, there should be 2 partners. One should be FCA, and DISA is not mandatory, but it is recommendatory that there should be a DISA or CISA qualified chartered accountant, and the experience required is 6 years, and the number of staff required are 8. So this is the criteria on the basis of which the auditors are selected by the Reserve Bank of India. Now, what happened is, if suppose there should be a contradictory provision, one may think of why the Maharashtra State Cooperative Society Act is having provision of appointment of auditors in AGM. So whenever there is a contradiction or there is a contradictory provision in the various acts, when there is a state act is a central act shall prevail. That means central act is superior than any provision which is contradictory to the state act. Then if that means state act provision is not that much mandatory, central act provision shall prevail. So Reserve Bank of India, once it is provided that the Reserve Bank of India is appointing the auditors, then that provision is prevailing over the provision made whatever stated in the various acts, because every state has got the individual state acts. Even in Maharashtra State Cooperative Societies Act, Section 81 prescribes of appointment of auditors in AGM. Still, for banks, the provision whatever mentioned in the Reserve Bank of India shall prevail. So comparison of the state act and central act, there should be a central act shall prevail. Even in case of multi-state cooperative societies act, both acts are central acts. But when we thought of the which provision is prevailing, then special act shall prevail with the central act. Multi-state cooperative societies act is a central act, no doubt, but regulation act is also central act, but there is a special act of banking regulation act. So whatever mentioned in the special act shall prevail. So like that, whatever be the mention in the various state act or multi-state cooperative act regarding appointment of auditors. There should be a provision which is prevailing in the Banking Regulation Act, which is final, and bank has to follow the whatever mentioned in the Banking Regulation Act. So likewise, the Reserve Bank of India has got the power for the appointment of auditors and the selection of auditors on a preferential basis. Bank has to give two preferences, out of which one preference has been selected by Reserve Bank of India on the basis of experience and count and qualification and whatever the criteria mentioned right now. So Reserve Bank are appointing the auditors on the basis of preferential basis. Then there is one condition that if any firm is conducting the audit of a particular bank in the last 6 years, then that firm will not be eligible to be appointed as auditor. In many cases, the proposals have been rejected by Reserve Bank of India, since because it was conducting in last 6 years in any year. If suppose that particular firm is conducting the audit of a particular bank, then that firm is not selected for the appointment of this year 21-22. Then as this provision has been come out on 27th of April, and Reserve Bank of India has instructed banks to appoint their auditor on board of directors meeting, and then post facto sanction will be taken in the coming AGM for the appointment of auditors. So like every bank has appointed in the board meetings, and they are taking the consent on coming. They have taken the consent in the coming AGM of 2021. So this was the procedure, and whatever the documents they are required to be given to the Reserve Bank of India at the time of submitting the proposal to for the appointment of auditors. One declaration is to be required to be given. Then the eligibility certificate form, which is designed in the circular itself, that how that firm is eligible regarding the number of years practice, regarding the number of FCAs, regarding CISA qualification, regarding number of staff, regarding number of years experience. So all this is explained in the formula. This is explained in the format given in the circular. On that basis, that firm has to give the eligibility certificate form. That means that CA firm has to declare that I am eligible to be appointed of appointment for the auditor of a particular bank, and then that has to be given in the eligibility form. Then firm card, which is issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, is to be enclosed. Then constitution certificate, then CISA DISA certificate of a particular partner or any individual chartered accountant is to be given. Then profile of the firm is to be given for getting the information about the number of professional staff. And then after the appointment, after the appointment letter issued by Reserve Bank of India, they have to give a consent letter within 30 days from the date of appointment. So this is the procedure change in the last year. Now, if we see the letter issued by Reserve Bank of India for the appointment of auditors, we find that there are so many things we have to verify and certify. So the basic condition, what we thought about the audit in last so many years is we are stating the statement of affairs, whether true and fair, showing true and fair view of the state of affairs. But now the major shift is we have to certify certain things according to the appointment letter issued by Reserve Bank of India. And now I am focusing only on that basis, because there are totally 24 items in which Reserve Bank of India is expecting something different, right? I am doubtful whether we are having that capacity, whether we are having that kind of view to verify each and everything, because what we thought about the audit is we are generally verifying the loan documents, we are generally verifying SLR requirements, we are generally verifying the cash book, general ledger, everything, right, to get the information about the whether the balance sheet shows true and fair view of the affairs, and whether the bank is following the instructions by way of master circular, master direction, and like that one. I am doubtful in case of many things which is mentioned in the auditor appointment letter. We are lenient, We are not so cautious. We are not doing in-depth analysis, in-depth verification. And now, so the basic shift has been made. Instead of audit, we are like doing like an inspection. We are in a way giving the so many things on the basis of certificate. We are verifying and certifying certain things, and that way Reserve Bank is relied on the certificate issued by the chartered accountant, because they want we to verify and certify certain things which normally looks by RBI inspector. That means RBI inspectors are normally doing there. I'm explaining the things which are comparatively what is difference between inspection and audit. I thought of when I got the letter from Reserve Bank of India for my appointment of 3-4 banks. I got, and when I read that particular letter, I'm totally shocked, because the things they are expecting from chartered accountants is very different, and we need to focus on the appointment letter and what is the expectation of Reserve Bank of India. No doubt, if the Reserve Bank of India is expecting something, we need to have, I'm sure many or all the chartered accountants have that capacity to verify and certify, but normally we are not actually verifying certain things. Now we have to certify that also, and we are not having in-depth verification while conducting the normal course of audit. We are having a lenient view on various aspects. I will discuss each and every item one by one. So what is the basic difference? Now, if we see, there are all about 24 items we need to verify and certify, out of which 16 items in which auditor has to give certificate. So the total shift of audit is changed. Now only in Maharashtra, in other state there might be a separate format of audit report, but in Maharashtra we are following circular of RCS of 19th May to 1997 regarding the audit report is to be given in ABC format. Again, one more thing is that Reserve Bank Commissioner of Cooperation has issued a circular regarding it should be in Marathi. Now everyone is expected to be expert or having a good knowledge of Marathi itself, and he has, because there are some complaint and there are some complaint to the Register of Cooperative Societies that it should be in Marathi. म्हणजे मराठीमध्ये रिपोर्ट असेल तरच तो समजला जातो, असं काही लोकांचा समज असल्यामुळे मराठीमधलाच रिपोर्ट आला पाहिजे असं त्यांचं म्हणणं होतं. आणि आपल्याला तरी रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियाला मराठीमध्ये रिपोर्ट देऊन चालत नाही, इंग्लिशमध्ये आपण रिपोर्ट देण्यासाठी जास्त उत्सुक असतो. पण मला असं वाटतंय की आपण जरी रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियाला इंग्लिशमध्ये दिला तरी आपल्याला रिपोर्ट हा मेन मराठीतच करावा लागेल. सो आय विल डिस्कस ऑन इन मराठी और इन इंग्लिश regarding the issues to be tackled by the auditor while conducting the audit as such. So in total 24 items we need to verify. Normally we are verifying, but I am doubtful that whether we are verifying in depth or not. Many of the items we have a lenient view, or we are not going into the details of the particular item. I will explain each and everything right now. And there are some 5 items in which we have to verify and comment. And regarding fraud, we have to report to the audit committee or Department of Supervision, Reserve Bank of India, senior manager. We have to directly report to the fraud. And if the fraud is having volume of 1 crore rupees or more, it has to be directly reported to the Bengaluru Central Vigilance Office of Reserve Bank of India. That has already explained in the auditor appointment letter by Reserve Bank of India. Then the one more suggestion is given in the RBI appointment letter is qualification should be quantifiable as far as possible. Now it is already settled principle that whenever we are making any qualification in the audit report, it should be quantifiable as far as possible. But because unless it is quantified, the magnitude or the impact on the statement of affairs or the financial status of that particular bank will not be certain. So quantification is very much essential. But again, it is explained in the again it is guided or recommended in the auditor appointment letter by Reserve Bank of India. Now what is the difference between audit and inspection? Now, the object of audit is to certify the truth and fairness of the statement of affairs. That means we are certifying that the bank is having true and fair view of the statement of affairs. That means whatever the financial status or whatever the status of profit or loss of that particular period is, whether the bank is showing truth and fair regarding that particular financial statement, that is statement of affairs or the profit or loss as such. Now, our focus is, main focus is to certify the truth and fairness of statement of affairs. But as in case of inspection, to verify the provisions of Act, rules, and master directions or circulars followed or not. So the inspection is basically, they are not more concerned about the statement of affairs, or they are not more concerned about the financial statement or whether the truth and fairness of the financial statement, but they are more concerned about what is the procedure, whether the circulars or the directions or the Act and rules have been followed while conducting the business of banking. So this is a difference of object. Then the areas to be covered in the audit is financial transaction and general guidelines. That means we are more focused on verification of financial transaction, like verification of cash book, GL, verification of loan documents, verification of asset, verification of depreciation, verification of various provisions. So like we are more and more focused while conducting the audit on the financial transaction and not the master circular or master direction. No doubt, we are verifying the master direction or master circular, but our major focus is on the verification of financial transaction and general guidelines, which are required for framing our opinion regarding the financial statement of a particular bank. So that is also different. Then frequency of audit is annual, and inspection frequency is occasional. That means a bank having in A grade, they are inspecting twice in a year. Bank in a B or C grade, they are inspecting on yearly basis. And the bank which is in a critical position, they are inspecting or they are giving direction under Section 35. So that is difference between audit and inspection. Then the procedure, when we are conducting the audit, it involves a deeper investigation. That means whenever we suspect anything wrong, then we are having a deeper investigation. But the investigation is situated on reviewing issues one by one. That means first they are verifying whether the bank is conducting the business on the basis of master circular, master direction or not. Whenever they suspect something wrong, then they will go into the details of that particular activity or the transaction. But in case of audit, we are normally having a deeper investigation. Then the person who are conducting the audit will be a professional like chartered accountants. Normally in India, only chartered accountants are allowed to conduct the audit of urban cooperative banks. But in case of inspection, it will be authorized by regulatory body. Now, in case of banks, in case of this urban cooperative bank, the Reserve Bank of India is a regulatory body, and regulatory body has to conduct the inspection. Then, who is to report regarding the audit or the inspection? Normally, we are reporting to the members of the urban cooperative banks. Then, whatever we are stating in the auditor certificate, that to the members, that likewise we are reporting to the members, but the inspection will be reported to regulatory body. Then the reporting format is specified by Act. Now, in case of Maharashtra, it is specified by a circular of 19 May 1997. That commissioner has issued a circular in case the bank has to conduct the audit. It should be in Form A, Form B, and Form C. And the forms are also prescribed, Form 1 and all other Section 60, Rule 69 and Rule 81(2), and some other forms that has been designed for the particular bank. So it is totally specified by the Act, but inspection is on the basis of checklist designed by Reserve Bank of India. And the submission of report to the Register of Cooperative Societies and Reserve Bank of India. But in case of inspection, it is a regulatory body. Now, the one thing I remain to explain in the PPT, that audit report is a public document and inspection report is not a public document. The major change, because whenever any aggrieved member or complainant require something from the bank or the registrar or from the regulatory body, they will ask the copies of audit report as a statutory audit report, but they will not ask for the inspection report. That is a very important thing. Then what are the certification or the reporting requirement as such? Now I will discuss one by one what is the area changed by Reserve Bank of India while conducting the audit of, because now this year every CA has to be cautious to conduct the audit according to this appointment letter given by the Reserve Bank of India, because when on the basis of that appointment letter, that particular bank is issuing an appointment letter stating what are the requirements that has been mentioned in the Reserve Bank of by the Reserve Bank of India. So the RBI has issued a letter to respect to UCBs for approval of RBI for the appointment of particular audit firm, and in turn that auditor is conveyed by the letter issued by particular bank regarding what is the expectation and what are the requirement of certificates or reporting requirement which is mentioned in the appointment letter. The one and the first is the statutory auditor shall verify compliance with SLR requirements on 12 odd dates spread over the entire year. Also verify CRR SLR returns on sample basis on at least 12 occasions. Now this particular clause is clearly spelled about how we will have to verify the SLR requirements. We are not only verify on only 12 occasions, we have to verify the SLR requirement throughout the year. Now everyone knows how to verify the SLR requirement, that last fortnight's quarters DTL will be NDTL will be a base on the basis of which we are maintaining the SLR, and on that particular figures whether the bank is having that much SLR investments or not is to be seen. But after verification, we will have to issue certificate that bank has complied with the SLR requirements on 12 odd dates spread over the entire year and not being Fridays. That means we will have to take a samples for the figure of particular date, but the date should not be Friday and it has to be mentioned in the certificate. म्हणजे हे खूप अवघड केलेलं आहे की आपल्याला आता इथून पुढे फॉर्मॅट्स डिझाईन करायला लागतील. We will have to set a format for giving this particular certificate. That certificate should be like we have verified the SLR transaction of the bank of so bank, and on 12 odd dates we have taken a sample and verified whether this bank has maintained the SLR or not, and then on following dates the bank has maintained the SLR requirement, and whether the bank's transaction in SLR, whether it is complied as per the RBI circular or not, or the master circular of investment or not, that has to be mentioned in the certificate itself. And then whether SLR CRR returns has been sent to the Reserve Bank of India within time. So that has also been to be checked, and it is to be mentioned by auditor itself that RBI Reserve Bank, a particular bank has filed SLR CRR return within a due date, within a due time. So there are two things. We will have to certify 12 occasions that SLR requirement has been met, and then SLR 12 occasion SLR returns and CRR returns has been sent to the Reserve Bank of India within time. So two things has to be certified on this particular one certificate. Then regarding confirmation as to the accuracy and computation of net DTL and corresponding SLR, I am very surprised whether all CAs are having that much acquaintance or having that much approach to verify whether DTL. Now normally what happened is we are just relying on the information given by the bank regarding the SLR or the DTL or NDTL calculation given by the bank, but normally we are not that much in-depth verifying the figures given by the bank. So now the shift has to be made. We need to examine in proper way what is meant by DTL, and it is given in the circular of Reserve Bank of India and DICGC. No, this is Master Circular of SLR CRR, and we need to examine what is meant by average daily balance and what is meant by fortnight, what is meant by deposits, what is meant by what are the figures to be included while calculating the DTL, demand and time liabilities. So interest interest to be payable on the deposit is to be included in the demand and time liabilities. So many things, borrowings from the bank, and so many things has to be added. And we need to verify whether the bank has correctly calculated the demand and time liabilities. It is already mentioned in the master circular on 1st July 2015 how to calculate the DTL. So I think we need to go through the circular on master circular on NDT investment SLR CRR, and we need to verify whether the DTL is calculation is made by the bank. Normally what happened is we are more focused on the financial transaction, we are more focused on the NPAs, we are more focused on the checking of loan documents, but we are not more focused on the information given by the system. We are just relied on the information generated by the system, but there may be a possibility that there may be a chance of error, there may be a chance of omission. So we need to verify carefully regarding how to calculate the demand and time liabilities and whether bank has given the proper information regarding demand and time liabilities, and then only we can certify that. Because whenever we are certifying the accuracy, and it is there is one guidance note issued by ICI, whenever you are giving a certificate, you need to apply certain procedures, we need to verify certain things, we need to rely on and there should be a disclaimer. We have relied on the information given by the bank, and we need to verify that one also. Only on the basis of whatever the information given by the bank, we are not certifying. We need to verify it, and then only we can certify a particular certificate. So that is also important. Then there is next. Then third certificate is to be given by auditor is statutory auditors shall verify and certify the correctness of CRAR calculation. Normally it is we are conducting each and every year. This is not a new one, but also they are expecting something new. What happened is in many times the Reserve Bank of India's in inspection, there should not be any variation. Recently I attended one seminar with the NABARD, because I was having a audit of District Central Cooperative Bank, and right now I am auditor of District Central Cooperative Bank, and the officers and the view of NABARD I saw, they are saying that there should not be any variation of calculation of statutory auditors and RBI NABARD inspectors, because in many times it happens the NPA calculation of CAs is less and NPA calculation of RBI is always there is a difference. Calculation of CRAR like by chartered accountant or by auditor of bank and by RBI inspector is always there is a difference. This should not happen, because they are deducting from the net capital funds short provision, losses. They are deducting so many things from the CR capital funds. So like we should have a proper knowledge. म्हणजे थोडक्यात काय सांगायचं की CRAR ज्या वेळेला आपण बघतो त्यावेळेला CRAR आपण we are just verifying the figures what you mentioned in the balance sheet, but we are not going to the details whether the provision is ought to be made, whether there is a requirement of additional provision. If suppose we are mentioning in the audit report that NPA provision is less by something amount, we need to deduct that particular figure from the capital funds. Then only we can have proper idea about whatever findings made by you. But in many cases, we are saying in the audit report that there is a short provision of NPA, but we are not deducting from the capital funds while calculating the CRAR. So that is also very important. So we need to be cautious while certifying CRAR. Not only the capital funds calculation, whatever the figures you mentioned in the balance sheet, we are just copying it on the Excel format, and then we are calculating the CRAR and then certifying it. This is not the correct view. I am of the opinion that we need to have a proper understanding of whatever the observation, whatever the audit notes, whatever the remarks we are making in the audit report. It should reflect in the certificate. It should reflect in the every aspect of the audit. Then only we can have a better idea of the bank as such. So I think CRAR calculation should be made on the basis of the figures given by the bank, and again on the basis of the opinion of the auditor, that we may differ. At all the times we can have a different view than bank. So whenever we are certifying the SCRAR, we need to have a proper idea about what is mentioned in the figures of the balance sheet and what we think of, and what we are having a proper understanding of under provision, over provision, whatever you think as an auditor, it should reflect in the certificate of CRA. That is what I have to say regarding CRA. Then statutory auditor shall verify and certify as to whether income recognition, asset classification, and provision have been made as per the guidelines issued by RBI. Normally, it is we are signing the pro forma of NPA. It is not new, but in many cases, RBI is complaining that the chartered accountants are not having properly verified the NPA provision, and there is always difference between the NPA provision as certified by chartered accountant and as certified by the RBI inspector. So we need to be strict, and we need to be cautious, and we need to be harsh while certifying the NPA provision. Now there are so many circulars issued in the last year. There should be an ongoing NPA, there should be active system based NPA, there should be SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, like that. So the banks are also transparent in showing the NPA right now. Not like in last 10 years, they are hiding something, and we are also convinced in some cases, but it will not be tolerated by Reserve Bank of India, and we need to have a better understanding of NPA, and then only we can certify the NPA statement. Then next is statutory auditor shall submit a certificate in respect of reconciliation of UCB's investment on own account and compliance of key areas in terms of on classification, operation, investment portfolio. Now, regarding the classification, operation, and depreciation, that means, and there is another issue. We can have a discussion on separate 1 hour discussion also on investment of the banks, because there are some categories of held till maturity, available for sale, held for trading, and held for trading and available for sale can be market. That means compared with the market value, and then whatever the required amount in the diminution in the value of that particular security will be provided for as an depreciation. There will be a requirement of investment fluctuation of 5% on AFS and other so there is one at the specific mention of the particular letter, RBI circular of 6 July 2018 they have made, because everyone knows about the master circular and everyone knows about the provision required to be made while finalizing the balance sheet on investment. But still the bank has issued, Reserve Bank of India issued prudential norms for classification, valuation, and operation on 6 July 2018 regarding how that particular provision of IFR is to be made, whether drawn down of IFR out of that 5% is allowed or not, and whatever. It is already explained in the circular of 6 July 2018 that there should be a mandatory requirement of investment fluctuation reserve of 5% on IFR. 5%, and the banks having detail less than 100 crores can postpone
Hello. Sir, you are on mute. सर
येते काय ऐकू आता?
येत आहे सर.
हो येत आहे.
हो. बहुतेक इंटरनेट इश्यू होता काहीतरी. ठीक आहे. सो दे आर they have made a specific review, specific reference of the 6 July 2018 circular regarding the how that a provision of depreciation is to be made on the investment, and it should the investment which are available for sale or held for trading are need to mark to market, and whatever the diminution in the value of that particular security is to be provided for by way of depreciation on the end of this particular quarter. And each and every quarter they have to make a provision of depreciation on investment, and for each and every quarter that should be subjected to audit by chartered accountants, and that now everything is happened, and they are following this circular. Bank are also following this circular, but when it comes to the certification to be given by chartered accountant as a statutory auditor, we need to have in-depth verification, in-depth knowledge of the particular master circular and the provision to be made. And what is mentioned in the 6 July 2018 is the depreciation has to be made on each and every quarter ending, and IFR is to be made on the basis of available profit, 5% realized gain, and only realized gain can be appropriated for IFR. Notional profit will not be appropriated for investment fluctuation reserve. That is what we need to verify it, whether the bank has made a proper entries by way of appropriation or by way of charge on the profit to the profit and loss account, and that has to be commented on the basis of this certificate. The auditor has to give certificate regarding this issue. Then what next is statutory auditor shall verify and certify whether verify and certify the compliance with the exposure to single and group borrowers. Now, there are so many circulars issued by Reserve Bank of India in last 1 year regarding they come out with the 10% of capital funds and 25% of capital fund. I thought everyone knows about the single and group exposure. Single and group exposure, previously it was 15% of capital funds, and group exposure is 40% of capital funds previously. Now, during the last 1 year, Reserve Bank has come out with the first circular that single exposure would be 10% of capital funds and group exposure will be 25% of the capital funds. Again, there is one representation made by Urban Banks Federation regarding it is very low, and big banks are facing the problem to get the particular loan, high ticket loan. So they have made a representation to Reserve Bank of India, and then Reserve Bank of India has issued another circular on 13th March 2020, wherein it is stated that 15% of the capital, tier 1 capital. Now this is very important. When we talks about the capital funds means tier 1 and tier 2 capital. When we talks about the tier 1 capital means only share capital, reserve fund and building fund and like free reserves only. There will not be any part of notional funds, that is revaluation reserve or something like that. So that is also to be verified whether the bank has set. They have to set previously 2 times in a year. Now, as per this circular, Reserve Bank of India has issued a circular stating every bank has to set its individual and group exposure only once in a year at the start of the year. That means on the basis of the balance sheet of the last year, whether tier 1 cap 15% of the tier 1 capital and 25% of the tier 1 capital is the individual and group exposure, and we need to verify whether the loans have been sanctioned only within the limits of the individual or group exposure. Now, what is meant by tier 1 capital? Tier 1 capital is a free capital, capital plus free reserves, and not the extra provision of reserve for doubtful debts or the valuation reserve. Although it was taken in discounting factor of 45%, but still capital tier 2 capital is excluded while calculating the individual exposure of the particular bank, and we need to see whether the bank has sanctioned and disbursed the loan within the set limits at the start of the year on the basis of the balance sheet of the last year. That has to be checked, and then only we can issue certificate regarding whether the bank has properly followed the circular regarding individual and group exposure. There are so many things I will have to check whether because we are having a less time, I will just go through the important aspect of this particular circular and certificate to be given on the basis of that certificate. So there are other things, means the ceiling limit of there should be 50% of the aggregate advances comprising of only 25 lakhs and less. Now that means एकूण बँकेच्या एकूण कर्जापैकी 50% कर्ज ही 25 लाखाच्या आतली पाहिजे. That means bank's total portfolio suppose is having 300 crores, then 150 crores loans should be below 25 lakhs, and it is very difficult for any bank, and the roadmap is given. Then the priority sector targets have been given. They will have to achieve the target of 75% of the total advances to priority sector on 31st March 2024. So there are so many things I will not explain in detail, but when we thought of the giving the certificate of this particular individual and group borrower, we need to see whether the bank has set the individual and group exposure at the start of the year on the basis of the balance sheet of the last year, and it is on the capital one, tier 1 capital only, or only on the basis of the tier 1 capital they have set the individual and group exposure or not. And again, during the whole year, we need to see whether the bank has issued sanctioned and disbursed the loans which are within the limits of the individual exposure and group exposure or not, and then only we can issue certificate that the bank has followed the circular of this 13 March 2020. Next. Then the Reserve Bank statutory auditor shall verify and certify as to whether the bank has ensured adherence to RBI instruction on system-based asset classification. Now, this is not applicable to banks having asset size more than 1,000 crore. Back here. Just a minute. This is where the banks having deposit or the total asset more than 1,000 crore is required to have the system-based asset classification. That means their CBS system is such that system is verifying and classifying the account asset on NP or not is depending on the system only. That means classification of asset should be on the system, and regarding 1,000 crores deposit and less, total asset and less than 1,000 crores bank, it is a recommendatory and not compulsory. Then next is statutory auditor shall verify and certify the UCB compliance on the instruction of COVID-19 regulatory package. There are so many circulars issued by Reserve Bank of India regarding COVID-19 certification, regarding how they are giving a moratorium to COVID affected area, how they are giving conversion of existing unrecovered interest into funded interest term loan, FITL. So there are so many instructions given by Reserve Bank of India regarding how to deal with the COVID situation, and we need to certify that whether the bank is following the practices which is mentioned in the 4 circulars. That is circular on 23rd May 2020, 6th April 2020, 4th 7th April 2021, and 5th May 2021. So that is the case, and then statutory auditor shall verify and certify the computation of assessable deposits and premium in terms of DICGC and verify the correctness of interest payable calculation of UCB for including these amounts while calculating DICC premium. Now, we need to certify the returns to be submitted to DICC. That means whatever mentioned in the DICC circular regarding the figure of deposit, we need to verify on the basis of the balance sheet of the particular bank, and whether interest payable or the credit balances of CCOD accounts and whatever the amount which is lying in the credit side of the balance sheet, we need to see. And there is one circular regarding DICC. The circular speaks about 2nd June 2017, and we need to certify this certificate. We need to certify the correctness of the figures given in the DICC returns. So we need to have a better understanding of how the DICC premium is calculated and on what basis it is calculated. We need to see that, and then only we can issue this kind of certificate. Then statutory auditor shall verify and certify as to whether the loans are classified under priority sector across various categories. Now the priority sector circular is very vast. Agriculture, allied agriculture, SME sector, small farmers, small artisans, and everything is covered in the priority sector. And there is one circular how that classification is to be made, and chartered accountants needs to verify while certifying this one is how the classification is made. There should be a proper calculation of net bank credit, adjusted net bank credit. There should be a proper classification of advances, because there are so many things. It will not be possible to explain everything in this particular lecture, but I will touch upon the important aspect of this priority sector. Is one is agriculture infrastructure. Ancillary means there is a particular goat and everything is covered in allied agriculture. That means
सुनील सर, तर ते पीपीटी म्हणजे पीपीटीची स्क्रीन पण समोर करायला लागते आपल्याला.
हो, त्याच्यातच आहे मी आता.
अच्छा अच्छा,
टेनलाच आहे मी आता. म्हणजे DICC नंतर आता प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर 11ला आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये 10/5 म्हणजे 10 जून आणि 4/9 हे जे सर्क्युलर दिले आहेत ना चारही, तेच मी आता सांगतो.
ठीक आहे.
फक्त काय तो विषय वास्ट असल्यामुळे आपल्याला लक्षात येत नाही असं आहे. तर हे खूप डिटेल आहे प्रायोरिटी सेक्टरचं, आणि मला असं वाटतं की प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर ऍडव्हान्सचं क्लासिफिकेशन आपण प्रॉपर बघितल्यानंतरच आपल्याला ते सर्टिफाय करता येणार आहे. अदरवाइज इट विल बी व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर एनी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट while we are certifying certain things. We need to verify each and every aspect of that particular thing. That means in priority sector advances, whether the bank is properly classifying the priority sector. Only 50 lakhs and less will be a priority sector regarding housing loan. There are so many things. Agriculture classification. There are when we thought of classification, there may be a possibility that the bank is giving only for sake of priority sector. They are mentioning that it is for agriculture, but there will not be any document for agriculture. That needs to be reclassified according to auditor's view, and then only we can certify whether bank has given proper priority sector lending or not. The next one is statutory auditor shall verify and certify the correctness of interest subvention claim of MSME. It is clearly mentioned that on 7th October 2020, it is clearly given that how to calculate the interest subvention, and on that basis we can give a certificate. Then statutory auditor shall verify the reconciliation status of P&L, GL. Now it is not relevant in case of any bank, because every bank has installed the CBS system. So there is a less chances of any reconciliation required for GL or reconciliation required for PLN statement. But whenever there exist any differences, we need to provide for. And if we are not providing and we are just giving a certificate, then it will be a wrong procedure. We need to check whether it is tallied. And in many cases, in spite of CBS and in spite of software installed by banks, there may be a chances that there is a possibility that there may be a difference in GL, difference in P&L statement. We need to verify it, and whether there exist any differences, we need to provide for that. Again, he has to comment on outstanding liability which has not brought into the books, such as income tax demand notice. Now, many of the banks are facing the problem of demand notice due to the various cases against bank. So there is a possibility that the bank is having a huge demand notice, and then it should be brought to the books. If we are of the opinion that the income tax, there will be a chance of any liability of income tax, we need to comment on that, and we need to provide. And if there is any contingent liability, if we are in the appeal, then there is a possibility of contingent liability, then it should be mentioned in the balance sheet by way of footnote of balance sheet item that there is a possibility of contingent liability for the demand by income tax department. So that has to be commented on. Next one is verify there are any long outstanding entries more than 3 years again the other asset, and also verify the composition of other assets so as to check the comprising of any intangible in nature. That means whenever there is any item which is lying in the other asset which needs to be written up, or which is in intangible nature, and auditor is of the opinion that it should be written off, then it has to be commented on, and auditor has to verify the other asset more keenly as to whether there is any chance of or amount which is required to be written off in the balance sheet. And if suppose there is any items which is lying in more than 3 years, we need to comment on it, and whether there is any possibility of written off, we need to comment on particular aspect. Then he has to appoint to certify whether the bank has made the provision in FMR 1, and it is reported to the RO, regional office, within 3 weeks. Now, what is required to be certified here is whether adequate provision is made or not. If there is no fraud, there is no requirement of any provision as such. But if there is a fraud, we need to provide, and we need to provide in the balance sheet or the profit and loss account whether the provision has been made or not is to be seen, and whether the FMR 1 return is submitted within 3 weeks of such transaction. We need to certify that one. So this is also additional duty cast on the auditor while verifying whether the fraud is there. Then he has to certify that the ECB has made adequate provision for new NPA identified by IO. Now this is a new one. म्हणजे आता रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियाच्या इन्स्पेक्शन रिपोर्ट आपण बघतो, पण ते बघून आपण त्याच्यावर नोट करत नाही, त्याच्यावर कॉमेंट करत नाही. अगदी रेअर केसमध्ये आपण कॉमेंट करतो. बट नाव we need to certify, we are required to certify it, whether what is stated and what is mentioned in the last inspection report by Reserve Bank of India, whether that inspection report mentions about additional requirement to be made on the NPA, then whether that bank has provided or not is to be certified. And if it is not provided by Reserve Bank or any particular bank, we need to certify like that. The bank need to provide for something amount, some lakhs rupees of NPA provision required, but the bank has made only some lakhs of rupees, like that only. So this is also a new chapter and new verification required. And whenever we thought of certification, whenever we are thinking of giving a certificate, it should be properly verified, duly documented, and duly taken the audit notes in your hands whether the bank has made a provision or not. We are issuing a certificate, we need to be cautious that whether the bank has followed the particular instruction or not. Then he has to comment on pending observation of the last statutory audit report. Then he has to comment on the preparedness of UCB on cyber security control. Then nowadays the cooperative banks are exposed to the risk of net. There are so many Nigerian fraudulents attacking to the servers of the urban cooperative banks. So we need to be more cautious while commenting on this, and we need to see whether the VAPT audit is completed, whether IS audit is conducted, and what is the assessment made by a system department of particular bank. We need to see that all, and we need to prepare one note on the preparedness of urban cooperative banks on cyber security control, because it is now urban cooperative banks are exposed to the such risk, and we need to comment on that only. It is a comment and not certificate. Then he has to report to the matter suspected to be fraud or fraudulent activity or any full play in the transaction to the CEO of Urban Cooperative Bank, Audit Committee or SSM of Urban Cooperative Bank. It is already covered. Where the amount of fraud involved is more than 100 lakhs, the statutory auditor may be advised to report directly to the Central Fraud Monitoring Cell and to the Bengaluru and to the top management and ACB as such. And again, one more circular is issued regarding banks having more than 500 crores of asset size or more, that the banks are required to report a large exposure to Central Repository of Information. Like CIBIL, they have to report to the Central Repository of Information on large credit. How that is to be reported is given in that particular circular, and where he has to certify whether the all information has been certified, whether the all information is submitted to CRILC on proper, it is proper or not. Whenever we are issuing certificate, we need to verify, we need to check, and we need to take a copies of it, and then only we can certify. Next. Then the statutory auditor should advise to ensure qualification made in the audit report quantified wherever possible. It is already discussed. Whenever institute is also of the opinion that it is given in so many guidance notes that whenever we are making any qualification in the audit certificate as such, it should be quantified on the as far as possible. We will not make any vague comment while certifying a certain thing, certifying a statement of affairs. Then statutory auditor should be advised to report to the top management regarding the irregularities noticed in the working, which required immediate attention. Suppose the functioning of the management of the bank is detrimental to the interest of the depositors or detrimental to the smooth functioning of the banks, it should be properly and immediately reported to the Reserve Bank of India. माझ्या एका बँकमध्ये असं झालं होतं की द बँकेमध्ये ते जे संचालक मंडळ होतं ते विदाउट एनी ओटीएस स्कीम बऱ्यापैकी खाती क्लोज करत होतं. अशा प्रकारे त्या बँकांचे मॅनेजमेंट जर त्या ठिकाणी राहायला लागलं तर त्या बँकेचा लॉस होणार होता. त्यामुळे अशी केसेस आपल्याला इमिजिएटली रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियाला रिपोर्ट करावं लागणार. So we need to be cautious on the issues which are faced by a particular bank. While if we notice something is wrong or if we notice some irregularities happening in the bank, we need to be cautious and we need to directly report it to the Reserve Bank of India immediately without wasting much of time. Then I am ahead of time and we need to discuss so many things of credit cooperative society. मला cooperative credit society चा जो रिपोर्ट आहे त्याच्यावर सुद्धा फोकस करायचा आहे. मला वाटतं आपण जरा फास्ट घेऊया. Then certification, he advised to conduct more intense examination of large value accounts. आता हे एक सजेशन दिलेलं आहे रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियानं की लार्ज व्हॅल्यू अकाउंट्स. आता लार्ज व्हॅल्यू अकाउंट्स कसं म्हणायचं तर आपल्याला जो इन्स्टिट्यूटच्या गाईडलाईन्स मध्ये दिलेला आहे व्हॉट इज मीन्ड बाय काय म्हणतो आपण त्याला व्हॉट इज मीन्ड बाय इन्स्टिट्यूटच्या गाईडलाईन मध्ये पण आपण बघतो की बऱ्याच वेळेला आपल्याला असं दिसतं की मायनर थिंग्स असतील तर आपण इग्नोर करतो. पण लार्ज व्हॅल्यू अकाउंट म्हणजे काय, एका पर्टिक्युलर 100 कोटीच्या बँकेला 1 कोटीचं कर्ज पण लार्ज कर्ज असू शकतं. पण 500 आणि 1000 कोटीच्या बँकेला 1 कोटीचं कर्ज हे लार्ज व्हॅल्यू अकाउंट असू शकत नाही. 1% ऑर द क्रायटेरिया विच वी नीड टू डेव्हलप अँड दॅट लार्ज व्हॅल्यू अकाउंट, द नेचर ऑफ सिक्युरिटी, द फायनान्शियल स्टेटमेंट अँड वेदर देर इज any deviation of the funds, we need to observe whether the end utilization of the fund is proper, and we need to have a detailed investigation of the large accounts. They are expecting large accounts needs to be verified properly, so that is also an expectation of Reserve Bank of India. So there are one examination, one report, 3 comments, verification and comments, and 16 certificates needs to be issued by chartered accountant while conducting the audit. So हे सगळं बघितल्यानंतर असं मला वाटतंय कि Reserve Bank of India is expecting more from the chartered accountants, and they are issuing appointment letters. With this all comments, I thought we need to discuss more about the certificates to be given on the urban banks as such. Then again, one instruction or the given in the appointment letter is statutory auditors in verifying whether NPA has been correctly identified by UCB or not should not confine themselves to the objective test. म्हणजे तुम्ही डिटेल बघा, फक्त बँकेने दिलेले एनपीए सर्टिफाय करू नका असं त्यांना थोडक्यात सांगायचं आहे. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट दी बँकिंग बँक ॲज सच. ह्याच्यामध्ये खूप अजून पुढे स्लाइड्स होत्या माझ्याकडे आणि खूप मला बोलायचं होतं, पण मला वाटतं आपण पाऊण तासात फक्त एवढंच कव्हर करू शकलोय की एकूण बँकांच्या या वर्षीच्या 21-22च्या ऑडिटमध्ये वेगळं काय आहे, रेग्युलर काय आहे त्याचे स्लाइड्स पुढे आहेत. बट आय विल नॉट टच अपॉन दी अदर थिंग बिकॉज आय विल डिस्कस समथिंग on the queries raised by the participants, and then I will go for the audit of credit cooperative societies. We will take a break for question answer. Break in the sense question answer.
Yes. Yeah, any participants? Yeah, if you are having any question, please.
There are few questions in the chat box.
Please explain concept of group exposure. Material which was not, if possible, mail the material which was not discussed. Okay.
Are the proprietary firms are not eligible for any appointment under ECB? For any ECB? That was the first question.
हाँ, आता पहिले वन बाय वन सांगू का मी. प्रोप्रायटरी फर्म्स आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ यूसीबी. करेक्ट. प्रोप्रायटरी फर्म राईट ना, इथून पुढे प्रोप्रायटरी फर्मना अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव्ह बँकांचं ऑडिट करता येणार नाही. As per the circular issued by Commissioner on 19th May to 1997, the format is set by the Commissioner as such for the audit of urban cooperative banks. So there will be a format of A, B, and C. And again in the 2021, Commissioner has issued a circular regarding the report is to be in Marathi. त्यामुळे मराठीत रिपोर्ट द्यावा लागेल आणि रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडियाला द्यायचं असेल तर आपला एलएफआर तयार असतो. एलएफआर पण आपण दिला, दॅट इज ऑल्सो सफिशियंट फॉर, आय थिंक दॅट इज ऑल्सो सफिशियंट. त्यामुळे एलएफआर तर आपण इंग्लिशमध्येच करतो, तो एलएफआर अलॉंग विथ द ऑडिट रिपोर्ट सुद्धा आपण पाठवून देऊ शकतो. अँड वन नीता जवळ त्यांनी सांगितले की कॅन यू स्पेसिफाय व्हॉट हेड्स आर टू बी कन्सिडर फॉर टायर 1, टायर 2 कॅपिटल. टायर 1 कॅपिटल म्हणजे शेअर कॅपिटल, रिझर्व्ह फंड, building fund, and all other free reserves which are included in tier 1 capital. Tier 2 capital means valuation reserve, excess provision of RDD, and some other reserves which are not properly described in tier 1. म्हणजे थोडक्यात सांगायचं म्हणजे टायर 2 कॅपिटल आर सेकंडरी कॅपिटल, टायर 1 इज अ प्युअर प्रायर कॅपिटल म्हणजे मेन कॅपिटल असा त्याचा अर्थ आहे. आणि हे सीआरआरच्या सर्क्युलर मध्ये प्रॉपरली एक्सप्लेन केलेलं आहे. यू कॅन विजिट टू दी आरबीआय वेबसाईट ऑन 1 जुलै 2025 or 2013. You will find that circular of CRR. 1 जुलै 2015 नोटिफिकेशन कॉलम मध्ये तुम्हाला सर्क्युलर ते मिळून जाईल. तुम्ही ते वाचल्यानंतर पुन्हा काही क्वेरीज असतील तर माझा नंबर आहे, यू कॅन कॉल मी ॲट एनी टाइम. देन कन्सेप्ट ऑफ ग्रुप एक्सपोजर. ग्रुप एक्सपोजर म्हणजे 10 रिलेशन्स दिलेले आहेत. 10 रिलेशन्स मधले जे रिलेटिव्ह असतील म्हणजे हजबंड वाईफ म्हणजे एनी स्पाउस, फादर मदर, सन डॉटर, सन्स वाईफ, डॉटर्स हजबंड, सिस्टर अँड मदर ब्रदर. 10 रिलेशन्स आहेत. या 10 रिलेशन्स मध्ये जे कोणी असतील त्यांच्या बरोबर दिलेली कर्ज सुद्धा ग्रुप काउंट होतात. आणि ग्रुप काउंट झाल्यानंतर त्या ग्रुपमध्ये त्या 10 फॅमिली मेंबर्स पैकी कोणी जरी प्रोप्रायटर पार्टनर और कंपनीमध्ये डायरेक्टर ऑफ सबस्टॅन्शियल काही असेल त्याचा स्टेक, सबस्टॅन्शियल म्हणजे 20%, तर तो ग्रुप मानला जातो.
Sir, I have a question.
हा.
Sir, is there any specific requirement of reporting, means the specific format of balance sheet which need to be signed? Format of balance sheet. See, every cooperative bank prepares balance sheet in their own way. So, is there any requirement to sign on the specific format?
ते ऍक्च्युली मास्टर सर्क्युलर मी कव्हर करणार होतो, पण मला फक्त ह्या 17 प्रश्नातच इतका वेळ गेला की मला ते सांगता आलं नाही. देर इज अ स्पेसिफिक सर्क्युलर ऑफ डिस्क्लोजर ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑन, इट इज ऑलरेडी गिवन in my PPT, next PPT, disclosure, just a moment, I will share with you. This is a format. Like scheduled bank, they need to prepare the balance sheet in Form A. म्हणजे आता तुम्ही म्हणाल की कोऑपरेटिव्ह ऍक्ट मध्ये N1 हा फॉर्मॅट आहे बँकांसाठी, देन इट इज अ कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी. मग जेव्हा जेव्हा कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन येतं त्यावेळेला वेदर स्टेट ऍक्ट ची प्रोव्हिजन कधी प्रिवेल होत नाही, सेंट्रल ऍक्ट शॅल प्रिवेल. Reserve Bank of India, when it is specified that the Form A is to be used, Form A is वापरला पाहिजे. आणि there is a huge master circular of disclosure of information on 30th August 2021. Presentation and disclosure, huge circular, मोठे सर्क्युलर आहे. त्या सर्क्युलर मध्ये क्लिअर कट सांगितले, जशी आपण नॅशनल बँक म्हणजे कमर्शियल बँकांच्या, शेड्यूल बँकांच्या बॅलन्स शीट करतो, सेम फॉर्मॅट इज टू बी युटिलाइज फॉर presenting the balance sheet of urban cooperative banks from 2021-22, even from 21 also.
Yeah, sir. So if the bank is not preparing in that specified format, so are we supposed to prepare and then only we are supposed to sign? Or is it
we need to guide them and we need to ask them. We want this in this format only because it is a circular binding on them. It is not binding on us. It is binding on them to prepare that balance sheet in a particular format.
So in case they are not preparing, so in case if they are not preparing or not ready to prepare in that way, so what we should do? So you know the practical problems.
I know that many cooperative banks are lax in language, lax in and not ready to adapt something new. So I think we need to instruct and we need to cooperate them. And if suppose they are not preparing one, like in our individual client, we are preparing the balance sheet. Although we are auditors, like we will have to prepare the balance sheet of the bank and then guide them and to prepare them and force them to sign on new format of the balance sheet.
Okay, thank you, sir. And sir, one more question. Sir, one more question. Sir, just last one question. Sir, what is to be specifically included in Tier 2 capital? So at times the balance sheet shows heads like charity fund, labor welfare, staff welfare fund, some unforeseen event fund. So there are numerous heads which banks create for as per their wish and subject to requirement. So what is to be specifically included at times creates a lot of confusion because RBI inspection includes something, sometimes they exclude. So there is what is to be included.
There is always difference of opinion in the RBI inspectors and the auditors, chartered accountants, because whatever the funds prepared for the particular expenses, they are not the funds actually, they are provisions, and we know what is the difference between provisions and funds. So whatever the staff welfare and employee welfare, member fund, silver jubilee, falana, they are not the funds actually. They are not the funds. They are provisions meant for expenditure. So they will not form part of Tier 1 also and Tier 2 also. That will not be included in Tier 2 also. It is if you go to the circular of 1st July 2015, you will find that what is specifically mentioned in that circular, what is to be in Tier 1 and what is to be in Tier 2. You will have a better idea if you go through that circular.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, one more question is there. By 30th June, where we should submit the report? Need to submit to RBI or bank or what?
No. The report is to be submitted to RBI, also to the commissioner.
Okay.
Normally, we are auditing the particular cooperative bank, and we are reporting to the members of the bank and not to the anyone other than one. And so we have rightly, I have given the idea about the while my starting the lecture, that we are certifying the state of affairs and they are inspecting. The basic difference between audit and inspection, that is one. So we are certifying the statement of affairs. That means we are certifying the financial position or the profit or the loss of the bank, and we need to certify it, and we need to give to the commissioner of corporation and registrar and respective district special auditor of a particular district, and to the bank and to the auditor. And one more copy is to be given to the Reserve Bank of India.
Okay. Yeah, any other question, participants?
Actually, we need more time to discuss, and there are some problems while conducting such online lectures. Whenever there is a possibility after this COVID pandemic, we can have a proper offline seminars, so we can have a chat after lecture also, and we can have a discussion more regarding the some issues, because there is some hesitation from the members how to ask the question. So we can have a offline lectures, offline seminars, so that we can have a better idea about particular subject. We need to discuss more about the Master Circular of Reserve Bank of India. We need to discuss about how the audit is to be conducted, and what is the practical difficulties faced by chartered accountants. Rightly said by one member, we are facing so many problems, and we will have to certify within a short span of time. That report is to be given on 30 June. And again, there are so many things which need to certify it. And there 16 in total, 16 certificate has to be issued of a particular bank. If suppose one CA is conducting the audit of 4 or 5 banks, how he will manage, God knows how will manage. Very interesting one. नाही, कोऑपरेटिव्ह फार अवघड आहे. येणाऱ्या काळामध्ये आपल्याला खूप कठीण काम करावं लागणार आहे. विदिन शॉर्ट स्पॅन ऑफ टाइम वी विल हॅव टू सर्टिफाय सो मेनी थिंग्स, अँड इट इज व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस. मला वाटतं आपण पुढच्या विषयाला जाऊया. ओके. पवनजी बघा आता.
बिलकुल सर, आहे सर, वेळ आहे
ना. हा, मग आता हा एक क्वेश्चन आन्सर संपले का याच्यामध्ये?
हो सर.
ओके, मग आता आपण पतसंस्थांच्या बाबतीतला जो विषय आहे त्याला जाऊया. ओके, कारण हा सुद्धा एक बर्निंग इश्यू आहे. 4 एप्रिल 2022 ला एक कमिशनरनी सर्क्युलर काढले. हे सर्क्युलर मराठीत असल्यामुळे मी आता जरा मराठीतच बोलतो. दॅट वुड बी बेटर, कारण मराठीत समजेल ना सगळ्यांना. प्रॉब्लेम नाही ना? इंग्लिश म्हटलं तर इंग्लिश सांगेल, काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही. स्लाइड ऍड करते दुसरी. हा, ती दुसरी पीपीटी काढूया आपण. लाईव्ह बघायला मिळते, चांगला आहे ना. नाही, चल स्टार्ट करूया.
सर दुसरा पीपीटी लावायचा आहे का?
हा,
पीपीटी हाच आहे की दुसरा आहे सर?
नाही, हे पीडीएफ झालंय बहुतेक चुकून. पीपीटी नाही.
याला मिनिमाइज करून पीडीएफ ओपन करून त्याला इन्स्टॉल करता येईल.
हो, करता येईल.
याला मिनिमाइज करून,
हा, त्यालाच पीडीएफ चं पीपीटी करायचं काय?
नाही, पीडीएफ ओपन करा सर. पीडीएफ मध्ये पण पाहता येईल.
हो चालेल चालेल चालेल, काय अडचण नेक्स्ट करायचं त्याला. तर फक्त काय, हा स्क्रीन शेअर तर आहेच. ठीक आहे, ओके. सहकार आयुक्त व निबंधक सहकारी संस्था महाराष्ट्र राज्य यांनी 4 एप्रिल 2022 ला एक सर्क्युलर इश्यू केलेला आहे. आणि ज्या सर्क्युलर मध्ये ऑडिट रिपोर्ट कशा पद्धतीनं केला पाहिजे. आता काय होतं की पतसंस्थांचं ऑडिट करत असताना मला असं वाटते की पतसंस्थांचं ऑडिट करताना बऱ्याच वेळेला प्रत्येक ऑडिटरनी वेगवेगळे नमुने वापरले आणि प्रत्येक विभागामध्ये, म्हणजे आता विदर्भामध्ये, मराठवाड्यामध्ये, पश्चिम महाराष्ट्रामध्ये वेगवेगळ्या ठिकाणी वेगवेगळे फॉर्मॅट्स वापरले जात होते. कारण आपला एकंदरीत जर आपला प्रवास बघितला ऑडिटरांचा, तर पतसंस्था काही वेळेला सर्टिफाईड ऑडिटर, डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिटर किंवा काही वेळेला सीए असे वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारच्या ऑडिटरना दिले जात असतात. आणि प्रत्येक वेळेला फोकस प्रत्येक प्रकारच्या ऑडिटरांचा वेगळा असतो. आणि मी असं पाहिलेलं आहे की सर्टिफाईड ऑडिटर करत असताना वेगळ्या पद्धतीनं, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्स करत असताना वेगळ्या पद्धतीनं ऑडिट रिपोर्ट करत असतात. आता प्रॉब्लेम असा आहे की आपल्याकडे जसे कॉपी पेस्ट आहे कॉम्प्युटरला, तसं आपल्याकडे ऑडिट रिपोर्टला सुद्धा मागील पानावरून पुढे जाण्याची पद्धत आहे. ही इतकी चुकीची पद्धत आहे की मागच्या वर्षीचा ऑडिटर घ्यायचा, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट घ्यायचा आणि त्या पद्धतीने आपला रिपोर्ट डिझाईन करायचा. इट इज व्हेरी रॉंग प्रोसिजर. आपण आपल्या ऑडिटमध्ये आपल्या ऑडिटच्या फाइंडिंगनुसार आपले ऑडिट रिपोर्ट आपण केले पाहिजे. अर्थात ऑडिट रिपोर्ट केले पाहिजेत हे म्हणत होतो, पण डिपार्टमेंटला लक्षात आलं की मेजर ठिकाणी ऑडिट रिपोर्टचा फॉर्मॅट सेम नाही. प्रत्येक जिल्ह्यामध्ये, प्रत्येक विभागामध्ये आणि प्रत्येक ऑडिटरांनुसार तो फॉर्मॅट बदलत राहिला. त्यामुळं डिपार्टमेंटला असं वाटायला लागलं की आपल्याला आता आपण रिपोर्ट हा एका नमुन्यात तयार केला पाहिजे आणि त्या नमुन्यातच त्या, मग तो सीए असेल, डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिटर असेल और सर्टिफाईड ऑडिटर असेल, त्यांनी त्या फॉर्मॅटमध्येच रिपोर्ट दिला पाहिजे असं एक्सपेक्टेशन त्यांच्याकडून सुरू झालं. आणि मग एक सर्क्युलर 4 एप्रिल 2022 ला आलं, ज्यामध्ये त्याच्यामध्ये आदर्श नमुना दिलेला आहे कशा पद्धतीनं आपण ऑडिट रिपोर्ट करायचा, कशा पद्धतीनं आपण. अर्थात मी my focus of discussion is not confined to the format of the audit, but it will be how to conduct the audit असं सुद्धा असणार आहे. म्हणजे फक्त ते फॉर्मॅट कसं आहे असं न बघता ऑडिट करताना सुद्धा आपण काय काय खबरदारी घेतली पाहिजे ह्याच्यावर सुद्धा आपण बोलणार आहे आणि ह्याच्यावर सुद्धा आपण डिस्कशन करणार आहे. कारण मला वाटते माझा टाइम संपत आलेला आहे. 10 ते 11:30 टाइम होता, 11:30 ऑलरेडी झालेले आहेत. मी एक हाफ एन आवर मध्ये बऱ्यापैकी ह्याचा एक गोषवारा सांगतो, म्हणजे आपल्याला पुढे जाता येईल. upon the important system change in the audit report format of credit cooperative societies as such. आता पहिला बदल आहे तो म्हणजे आपल्याला तो लेखापरीक्षण अहवाल सादर करताना जो दिलेला आहे त्या फॉर्मॅट मध्येच आपल्याला त्याची रचना करावी लागणार आहे. म्हणजे फॉर्मॅट आपल्याला तोच वापरायला लागणार आहे. फिगर्स त्या वर्षाच्या त्या संस्थेच्या काय असतील त्या, आणि कन्सिडरिंग दी ऑब्झर्वेशन ऑफ आवर ऑडिट हे आपण विचारात घेऊन त्या रिपोर्टचा फॉर्मॅट किंवा ती रचना आपल्याला करावी लागणार आहे. यातला एक महत्त्वाचा मुद्दा असा आहे की जरी 4 एप्रिल 2022 ला हे सर्क्युलर महाराष्ट्र शासनानं इश्यू केलेलं असलं, सहकार आयुक्तांनी इश्यू केलेलं असलं, तरी 19/5/97 सर्क्युलर आहे त्यातील तरतुदी तशाच आहेत. म्हणजे बेसिक रिपोर्टचा जो नमुना आहे अ ब क, तो नमुना आहे तसाच राहिलेला आहे. अ ब क या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये चेंज नाही आहे. पण आपल्याला अ मध्ये काय लिहावं, ब मधले मुद्दे कुठले असावेत, त्याची रचना काय असावी, अशा पद्धतीने आपल्याला पुढे जावं लागणार आहे. म्हणजेच काय की आपल्याला साधारण फॉर्मॅटच सेट करून दिलेला आहे. what should be your first page of audit report, what should be your second page, what should be your third page, सगळं क्लिअर कट दिलेलं आहे. त्या फॉर्मॅट मध्ये आपल्याला करायचं आहे. त्यामध्ये आता पहिला मुद्दा कुठला येतो, अग्रेषित पत्र म्हणजे फॉरवर्डिंग लेटर, ज्याला इंग्लिशमध्ये फॉरवर्डिंग लेटर म्हणतो. त्या फॉरवर्डिंग लेटर मध्ये आपल्याला लक्षात येईल की आपल्याला एम्पॅनलमेंट क्रमांक लिहून चालणार नाही, नामतालिका क्रमांक नाही, नामतालिका वर्गवारी सुद्धा लिहायची. नॉर्मली आपण काय करतो, आपला शिक्का जो असतो ऑडिट रिपोर्टचा, ऑडिट रिपोर्टवर तो फर्मचा असतो. आता माझं सुनील नागावकर कंपनी पार्टनर सुनील नागावकर, पण त्याच्यामध्ये मी माझा मेंबरशिप नंबर लिहितो, FRN नंबर लिहितो, पण पॅनल क्रमांक लिहित नाही, शिक्क्यात नसतो. आपल्याला या फॉरवर्डिंग लेटरवर पॅनल क्रमांक आणि पॅनलची वर्गवारी, म्हणजे आता पॅनलची वर्गवारी A1, माझी पार्टनरशिप फर्म आहे, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट आहे, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्स आर इन A कॅटेगरी अँड 1 इज फर्म, त्यामुळे A1 ही माझी कॅटेगरी झाली. ही सुद्धा आपल्याला लिहावी लागणार आहे, की जी पूर्वी लिहावी लागत नव्हती. म्हणजे आय एम ओनली डिस्कसिंग व्हॉट इज द डिफरन्स बिटवीन लास्ट इयर्स ऑडिट अँड दिस इयर्स ऑडिट. सो व्हॉट इज द प्रोसिजर टू बी चेंज, हे आपल्याला बघायचं आहे. त्यामुळं हा एक फरक आहे. त्यानंतर दुसरा फरक आहे तो म्हणजे इंडेक्स दिलेला आहे. इंडेक्स दिलेला आहे, ज्यामध्ये काय काय आपण नमूद करायचं आहे ते सगळं त्या इंडेक्स मध्ये दिलेलं आहे. त्यानंतर नमुना क्रमांक 1 आहे. आता 1च्या बद्दलची चर्चा आपण नंतर करू. म्हणजे त्याच्यामध्ये फॉर्म 1 जो आहे तो त्याच्यामध्ये नमुना क्रमांक लेखापरीक्षण अहवालातील ठळक बाबींचा गोषवारा. आता ही एक्झिक्युटिव्ह समरी ऑफ द ऑडिट जी आहे ती एक्झिक्युटिव्ह समरी सुद्धा इम्पॉर्टंट आहे. त्यामध्ये संस्थेचं नाव, नोंदणी क्रमांक, कार्यक्षेत्र, लेखापरीक्षण कालावधी, नोंदणी क्रमांक, त्याची त्या ऑडिटरची वर्गवारी कुठली आहे, त्याला ठरावानं केलाय का परंतुकाच्या आदेशानं ऑडिट केलंय, लेखापरीक्षकांची वर्गवारी कोणती आहे, अहवाल सादर दिनांक कुठला आहे, विशेष अहवाल किंवा विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल ज्याला स्पेशल रिपोर्ट और स्पेसिफिक रिपोर्ट म्हणतो तो सादर करणार आहे का, त्यानंतर मॅन्डेटरी रिटर्न्स जे आहेत ते त्यांनी अपलोड केलेत का संस्थेने, मागच्या लेखापरीक्षण अहवालाचा जो अहवाल दिलाय का, सांपत्तिक स्थिती काय आहे, आणि मेन म्हणजे या एक्झिक्युटिव्ह समरीमध्ये आपल्याला मेन्शन करायचं आहे वेदर वी आर डिफर फ्रॉम द फिगर्स इश्यूड ऑर गिवन बाय दी ऑडिट सोसायटी. म्हणजे संस्थेने सादर केलेल्या आर्थिक पत्राला आपण सहमत नाही आहोत का, संस्थेने सादर केलेल्या CRR ला आपण असहमत आहोत का, संस्थेने सादर केलेल्या NPA स्टेटमेंटला आपण असहमत आहोत का, हे सुद्धा आपल्याला त्याच्यामध्ये सांगायचं आहे. त्यानंतर NPA कर्ज, थकीत कर्जाचं प्रमाण, इफ वी आर डिसएग्री विथ द फिगर्स गिवन बाय द सोसायटी, आपल्याला त्यामध्ये मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. त्यानंतर संस्थेच्या कामकाजातल्या महत्वाच्या गंभीर बाबींची माहिती, जसं की गैरव्यवहार, अफरातफर, फसवणूक, बनावट कागदपत्रांच्या आधारे निदर्शनास आलेला अपहार, अशा सगळ्या बाबी आपल्याला त्या एक्झिक्युटिव्ह समरीमध्ये नमूद करायचे आहेत. आणि संस्थेला झालेल्या आर्थिक नुकसानीबाबत, त्याचबरोबर जे सहपत्र आपण देत होतो, the annexure which was appended to the audit report last year, it is included in the executive summary. त्यामध्ये सहपत्रामध्ये संस्था करत असलेल्या ठळक व उल्लेखनीय बाबी, त्यानंतर उत्कृष्ट कामाबरोबर आवश्यक कोणत्या बाबी त्यांनी केल्या पाहिजेत, आणि संस्थेने करत असलेले चुकीचं काम जे आहे ते सुद्धा आपल्याला यातून मेन्शन करायचं आहे. आणि हे सगळं सहपत्र समाविष्ट असलेलं जे एक्झिक्युटिव्ह समरी आहे, ज्याला आपण गोषवारा म्हणतो, ते आपल्याला सुरुवातीलाच या अनुक्रमांकाच्या नंतर द्यायचे आहे. त्याचबरोबर भाग 1 नमुना क्रमांक 1 द्यायचा आहे. नमुना क्रमांक 1 हा फॉर्म आपण पूर्वापार देत आलेलो आहे, याच्यावर मला काय वाटते जास्त काही डिस्कशन करण्याची आवश्यकता नाही आहे. 8A जो आहे तो नव्यानं आलेला आहे, की हा फॉर्म पूर्वी नव्हता, तो आपल्याला नव्यानं द्यावा लागणार आहे. जर वेळ उरला तर आपण त्या 8 फॉर्म कडे जाऊया, 8A फॉर्म कडे जाऊया. पूर्वी हा 8 फॉर्म हा फक्त सॅलरी अर्नर पतसंस्थांच्या बाबतीत आपण वापरत होतो, तो आता नागरी व ग्रामीण बिगर पतसंस्थांना सुद्धा, ग्रामीण बिगर शेती पतसंस्थांना सुद्धा आता वापरायचा आहे. आणि तो 8A वापरत असताना आपल्याला बघायचं आहे की त्याच्यामधली जी माहिती आहे ती प्रॉपर आपण घेतली आहे का. त्याचबरोबर फॉर्म आपल्याला देत असताना कमिशनर साहेबांनी जे सर्क्युलर काढलेलं आहे त्या सर्क्युलर मध्ये आपल्याला बघायचं आहे की भाग अ मध्ये देत असताना काय काय आपण समाविष्ट केलं. अर्थात पूर्वी आपला भाग हा आपल्या पद्धतीने तयार होत होता. म्हणजे काय की आपण 2013 पूर्वी अपहाराचा काय, डिपार्टमेंटच्या कारवाईचा काय, किंवा कोणत्याही प्रकारच्या गंभीर स्वरूपाच्या चुकांच्या बाबतीत आपण भाग अ देत होतो. मग त्यामध्ये 3 प्रकारच्या चुका असतात. एक पहिली चूक म्हणजे अपहार, गैरव्यवहार, फसवणूक किंवा एकूण झालेले ज्यावर स्पेसिफिक, ज्याला भारतीय दंडविधान कायद्यातल्या तरतुदीनुसार झालेले जे काही घोटाळे असतील किंवा जे गुन्हे असतील त्याच्या बाबतीतले जे पण गोष्टी आहेत ते आपण भाग अ मध्ये देत होतो. भाग अ मधल्या अ मध्ये द्यायचे. भाग अ मधल्या ब मध्ये संस्थेला झालेल्या आर्थिक नुकसानीबाबत, म्हणजे संस्थेच्या संचालक मंडळाने, व्यवस्थापकाने, अधिकाऱ्यांनी, कर्मचाऱ्यांनी त्यांचं काम करत असताना संस्थेला नुकसानी पोहोचेल असं एखादं कृत्य केलं असेल आणि ज्यांच्या निर्णयामुळं किंवा अनिर्णयामुळं किंवा सहमतीमुळं किंवा असहमतीमुळं जर का संस्थेला नुकसान झालं असेल तर त्या नुकसानीची जबाबदारी सुद्धा आपण निश्चित करण्यासाठी आपल्याला भाग अ च्या ब मध्ये नमूद करायला लागेल की कोणकोणत्या गोष्टी तुमच्या चुकलेल्या आहेत. आणि भाग क मध्ये ज्या बाबींवर गंभीर बाबी आहेत आणि ज्या बाबी आपण निदर्शनास आणून दिल्या पाहिजेत संचालक निबंधकांच्या, म्हणजे some directions or the action needs to be taken by registrar on the basis of the points mentioned in part AC. म्हणजेच काय की भाग अ च्या क मध्ये असे मुद्दे आहेत की ज्या मुद्द्यांद्वारे आपल्याला असं मेन्शन करायचं आहे डिपार्टमेंटला की आपल्याला सांगावं लागेल की तुम्ही निबंधक म्हणून यांच्यावर कारवाई करा आणि बोला. तर ह्या प्रकारचे जे काही सगळे मुद्दे आहेत हे आपल्याला त्या सर्क्युलरमध्ये दिलेले असल्यामुळे उलट मी म्हणेन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्स ऑर दी ऑडिटर्सचं काम सोपं झालेलं आहे. कारण हे पूर्वी आपल्याला फरक कळत नव्हता. आपल्याला कधी स्पेसिफिक रिपोर्ट करायचा, कधी स्पेशल रिपोर्ट करायचा, म्हणजे कधी विशेष अहवाल करायचा आणि कधी विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल करायचा हे आपल्याला कळत नव्हतं. विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल हा फक्त ज्या केसमध्ये फौजदारी गुन्हा झालेला आहे, भारतीय दंडविधान कायद्यातील कोणत्या कलमांचं उल्लंघन झालेलं आहे, अशा वेळी आपल्याला विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल द्यावा लागत होता. आणि तो जर द्यायचा असेल तर आपल्याला ते मुद्दे कोणते कोणते ते आता आपण बघूया. त्यामध्ये पहिला मुद्दा असा आहे चोरी. म्हणजे संस्थेच्या मालमत्तेची जबाबदारी असलेल्या व्यक्तीने अप्रामाणिकपणे संस्थेच्या संपत्तीची चोरी करणे. इंडियन पेनल कोड 378, 381, IPC 403 अफरातफर, क्रिमिनल मिसअप्रोप्रिएशन म्हणजे अप्रामाणिकपणे संस्थेच्या मालमत्तेची, संस्था मालकीची संपत्तीची चोरी करणे अथवा स्वतःसाठी वापरणे. क्रिमिनल ब्रीच ऑफ ट्रस्ट 405, 408, 409 म्हणजे IPC 405, 408 आणि 409 संस्थेचा विश्वासघात करून संस्थेची संपत्ती लाटणे. फ्रॉड, चिटिंग ज्याला 420 म्हणतो आपण, 420 IPC 420, 415, 416, 419 संस्थेची फसवणूक करून संस्था मालमत्ता हडपणे, लपवणे, तोतयागिरी करून फसवणूक करणे, ह्या सगळ्या बाबी या फसवणुकीमध्ये येतात. आणि बनावट कागदपत्रे, फोर्जरी ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, किंवा ते मग सभासद, ठेवीदार, कर्जदार किंवा संस्थेचा कोणी कर्मचारी किंवा संचालक मॅनेजमेंट मधला कोणी व्यक्ती अशा प्रकारे बनावट कागदपत्र करून जर संस्थेला चीट करत असेल, फोर्जरी करत असेल तर ते IPC 424, 425, 463, 464 वगैरे सेक्शन्स आहेत. या सेक्शनचा जर का असेल तर आपल्याला या बाबतीमध्ये उल्लेख करावा लागतो. मिस ऍप्लिकेशन, संस्थेच्या मालमत्तेचा किंवा संस्थेच्या संसाधनांचा आपल्या प्राप्त अधिकारात गैरवापर करणे, IPC खाली गैरवापर, मिस ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून आपल्याला वापर करावा लागतो. किंवा ज्याला आपण क्रिमिनल कॉन्स्पिरसी, कट करणे किंवा कट करून संस्थेच्या संपत्ती हडप करण्याचा गुन्हा करणे, अशा जर काही गोष्टी असतील तर त्याला क्रिमिनल कॉन्स्पिरसी म्हणतो आपण. तर ह्याही गोष्टी आपल्याला भाग अ मधल्या अ मध्ये म्हणून नमूद कराव्या लागतात. त्यानंतर अधिकारांचा गैरवापर किंवा त्याचा संस्थेचा गैरवापर केला असेल, संस्थेचा सांभाळलेल्या वस्तू ज्या आहेत किंवा ज्या संसाधन मालमत्ता आहेत त्याचा गैरवापर केला असेल तर त्याही त्याच्यामध्ये येतात. गैरवर्तणूक ज्याला आपण मिसफिजन्स म्हणतो, आपल्याला माहित असेल मिसफिजन्स आपण ऑडिटमध्ये शिकलेलो आहे. CA फायनलच्या कोर्समध्ये पण आपल्याला मिसफिजन्सवर भरपूर उदाहरणं दिलेली आहेत. तर ते सगळ्या गोष्टी म्हणजे दिशाभूल करून चुकीचे बेकायदेशीर निर्णय घेऊन मालमत्ता हडप करणे याला आपण मिसफिजन्स म्हणतो. अधिकार पदावर असणाऱ्या व्यक्तीकडूनच अशा गोष्टी घडत असतात, त्यामुळे मिसफिजन्सला सुद्धा महत्व आहे. मिसफिजन्स ओळखायला सुद्धा आपण शिकलं पाहिजे आणि मग त्या गोष्टी ज्या आहेत त्या आपल्याला तिथं नमूद कराव्या लागतील आणि त्या नमूद केल्यानंतरच आपल्याला भाग अ चा भाग संपतो. म्हणजे खरं सांगायचं झालं तर आपल्याला भाग अ मधल्या अ मध्ये जर का त्या संस्थेमध्ये फ्रॉड, फसवणूक, चोरी, मिसफिजन्स, गैरवापर, गैरवर्तणूक, बनावट लेखांकन असेल तरच आपल्याला हा विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल सादर करावा लागतो. आणि विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल सादर करताना आपल्याला सरकारी वकिलांचा अभिप्राय घ्यावा लागतो आणि जो कोणी चुकलेला आहे त्याच्यावर आपल्याला कारवाई करावी लागते, म्हणजेच फौजदारी गुन्हा दाखल करावा लागतो. अर्थात हा मुद्दा वारंवार चर्चेला गेलेला आहे. आम्ही WRC मध्ये पण हा चर्चा करत असताना वारंवार थ्रू WRC कोऑपरेटिव्ह कमिटी आम्ही रिप्रेझेंटेशन केलेलं आहे कमिशनरना की हे फौजदारी गुन्हा दाखल करण्याची जबाबदारी आम्हाला ऑडिटरला नको. ही तुम्ही तुमच्याकडे घ्या. आम्ही निबंधकांना रिपोर्ट केल्यानंतर निबंधकांनी हे करावं असं आपली अपेक्षा आहे. पण डिपार्टमेंट इज नॉट ॲग्री विथ दिस and it is now properly mentioned in section 81 and rule 69. If any audit fails in his duties to charge against any misappropriated person, then he is guilty of professional misconduct. म्हणजेच त्याचा व्यावसायिक तो कर्तव्यात कसूर केला असं होणार आहे. आणि त्यामुळे कायद्यातच तरतूद झाल्यामुळे आता कुणालाही काय करता येत नाही. Auditors, it is a auditor's personal liability to file a case against the accused regarding any findings in the audit of particular credit society. त्यामुळे या बाबतीत आता सेटल्ड लॉ आहे की आपल्याला काही करून भाग अ मध्ये जे मुद्दे आपल्याला पोलीस गुन्ह्याखाली वापरावे लागतात ते आपल्याला वापरून त्यामध्ये आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागतं. आणि मला असं वाटतंय की प्रत्येकानं आता कॉशियस राहिलं पाहिजे आणि बघितलं पाहिजे की कशा पद्धतीनं हे फ्रॉड वगैरे होतात. त्याचं नोटिंग बऱ्याच वेळेला आपल्याकडे एक टेंडन्सी असते अशा प्रकारची गोष्ट घडली की आपण ते ऑडिट सोडून देतो, ऑडिट करत नाही. कशाला पाहिजे ही कटकट असं वाटतं आपल्याला. पण मला असं वाटतंय की एक जबाबदार नागरिक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट म्हणून आपण अशा कोणत्याही गोष्टी सोडून द्यायच्या नाहीत. आपण कोणतीही गोष्ट सोडून द्यायची नाही. याच्या बाबतीत आपल्यावर विश्वास ठेवून, म्हणजे मी असं नेहमी सांगतो की ऑडिटर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू द मेंबर्स सुद्धा आहे आणि पब्लिक सुद्धा आहे. कारण असं म्हटलं जातं की पतसंस्थांची खालावलेली परिस्थिती ही काही 1-2 वर्षात घडत नसते, बऱ्याच वर्षांमध्ये घडत असते. आणि तुम्ही ज्यावेळेला ऑडिट रिपोर्ट देता त्यावेळेला त्या ऑडिट रिपोर्टवर अ वर्ग ब वर्ग लिहिता, त्यावर आधारून आम्ही ठेव ठेवली असं जर एखाद्या ठेवीदारानं म्हटलं तर आपण इनडायरेक्टली वी आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू द एनी मेंबर ऑफ पब्लिक. प्रॉस्पेक्टिव्ह डिपॉझिटरला पण आपण विश्वासार्ह झालो, प्रॉस्पेक्टिव्ह डिपॉझिटरला पण आपण लायबल झालो, जबाबदार झालो. आणि हे एक्सपेक्टेशन आहे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट कडून किंवा ऑडिटर कडून की तुम्ही सचित्र दर्शन लेखापरीक्षणाच्या माध्यमातून संस्थेच्या आर्थिक स्थितीचं केलं पाहिजे. आणि तरच तुम्हाला लक्षात येईल की ऑडिटर हे प्रॉपरली त्यांची ड्युटी फॉलो करतात. अदरवाईज आपण सोडून देणे, इग्नोर करणे, मेन्शन न करणे, या गोष्टींमुळे काय होतं की ज्या गोष्टी करणारे लोक आहेत त्यांच्यावर ते फावतं. आणि मग ज्या वेळेला अल्टिमेटली तुम्हाला आठवत असेल 2007-8चा काळ, ज्या वेळेला अण्णा हजारेंनी पतसंस्थांच्या बाबतीमध्ये जोरदार आंदोलन सुरू केलं त्यावेळेला आपल्यापैकी बऱ्याच सीए बंधूंना जेलमध्ये जावं लागलं. आणि ते जेलमध्ये जावं लागताना इतक्या लोकांनी पॅनलवरची नावं कमी करून घेतली की आता पॅनल रिन्युअलचा ड्यू होऊन 2 वर्ष झाली तरी कोण बोलेना पॅनल रिन्यू करा. आपले नवीन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट जे लोक आहेत, न्यू मेंबर एंट्रन्स आहेत, त्यांना पॅनलवर यायला ते इच्छुक आहेत. आम्ही त्यासाठी प्रयत्न करतोय, डिपार्टमेंटला रिप्रेझेंटेशन करतोय की लवकर करा. काही टेक्निकल इश्यू आहेत. परवाही आमच्या WRCच्या कमिटीमध्ये मीटिंगमध्ये चर्चा झाली की पॅनल लवकर करायला सांगितलं पाहिजे. म्हणजे आपल्याकडे एकीकडे तरुण चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्स यायला तयार आहेत, जुन्यामधले बरेच लोक तयार नाहीत. त्याचं कारण हे आहे की आपण कॉशियसली ऑडिट करतो का हा मला पडलेला प्रश्न आहे. आणि आपण रिपोर्टिंग प्रॉपर करतो का हा त्यातनं निघालेला एक वेगळा प्रश्न आहे. त्यामुळे मला असं वाटतंय की आपण ज्या ज्या ठिकाणी स्पेशल रिपोर्टची गरज आहे, स्पेसिफिक रिपोर्टची गरज आहे, तेव्हा बिनदिक्कतपणे विदाउट एनी हेजिटेशन आपण रिपोर्ट फाईल केला पाहिजे, पोलीस केस केली पाहिजे. आणि पोलीस केस करून आपण जे कोणी दोषी असतील त्यांना शिक्षा होण्यासाठी प्रयत्न केले पाहिजे. तरच आपण आपल्या कर्तव्यात कसूर केली नाही असं होईल. नाहीतर आपण आपल्या कर्तव्यात कसूर केली असा अर्थ होईल. आणि मग आपल्यावर जर का उद्या कारवाई झाली तर आपल्याला सांभाळायला कोणीही येत नाही. मी बघितलंय, मी कोल्हापुरातल्या एका पतसंस्थेचं ऑडिट केलं होतं. मलाही ऍडिशनल रजिस्ट्रारनी पत्र काढलं होतं तुमचं नाव पॅनलवरनं कमी का करू नये म्हणून. शोकॉज नोटीस आली होती मला. पण माझ्याकडे एव्हिडन्सेस होते, माझ्याकडे स्पेशल रिपोर्ट होता, माझ्याकडे तत्कालीन म्हणजे आता अशा प्रकारचा नव्हता पण त्यावेळेच्या कायद्यानुसार त्यावेळेच्या सर्क्युलरच्या वातावरणानुसार जे काही करायला पाहिजे होतं ऑडिटर म्हणून मी ते केलेलं होतं. म्हणून मी त्यातनं सुटका होऊ शकली माझी. नाहीतर माझंही नाव पॅनलवरनं कमी झालं असतं. मला अगदी माझे जवळचे मित्र ऍडिशनल रजिस्ट्रार त्यांनीच मला पत्र काढलं होतं. कारण शेवटी जो चुकलाय तो चुकलाय. अशा पद्धतीनं मला असं वाटतंय की भाग अ याला फार महत्व दिलं पाहिजे. आणि भाग अ मधल्या अ मध्ये जे कोणी IPCची कलमाचं उल्लंघन करतील त्यांना आपण त्याच्या बाबतीत दिलं पाहिजे. त्यानंतर पुढचा मुद्दा आहे तो म्हणजे संस्थेला झालेल्या आर्थिक नुकसानीबद्दल. संस्थेला झालेल्या आर्थिक नुकसानीच्या बाबतीमध्ये मला असं वाटतंय की ज्या गोष्टी म्हणजे फ्रॉड नाही आहे, अफरातफर नाही आहे, पण किंवा भारतीय दंडविधान संहितेचं कुठलंही उल्लंघन नाही आहे, पण त्यांच्या अधिकाराचा वापर करून जर संस्थेच्या संचालक मंडळातील सदस्याने किंवा कोणत्याही एका पदाधिकाऱ्याने, अधिकाऱ्याने किंवा कर्मचाऱ्याने जर का त्या संस्थेच्या निधीचा गैरवापर केला असेल, अपव्यय केला असेल, संस्थेच्या आर्थिक नुकसानीला कारणीभूत झाला असेल, तर त्या बाबी सुद्धा आपल्याला भाग ब च्या माध्यमातून कराव्या लागतात. आणि मी असं सांगेन की आपल्याला अशा प्रकारे नुकसान जर झालं असेल तर यासाठी स्पेसिफिक अहवाल किंवा ज्याला विनिर्दिष्ट अहवाल करा म्हणतो तो करण्याची आवश्यकता नाही. आपल्याला त्या बाबतीमध्ये स्पेशल रिपोर्ट सुद्धा सफिशियंट आहे. आणि याच्यावर काय प्रश्न उत्तर असतील तर त्या माध्यमातून आपण परत चर्चा करू. पण त्यातले काही ठळक मुद्दे सांगतो की तरतुदीशिवाय निधीचा लाभ घेतला असेल, म्हणजे जास्त निधी काढले असतील, 15% जास्त लाभांश दिला असेल, किंवा धर्माचा हेतू करता 20% जास्त निधी काढला असेल, किंवा लेखापरीक्षकाचे प्रमाणपत्र न घेता राईट ऑफ केला असेल, निर्लेखित केला असेल. आपल्याला माहिती आहे की आपण जर राईट ऑफ करायचं असेल, रूल 49 खाली काय प्रोसिजर आहे, बुडीत कर्ज जर का आपल्याला बुडीत निधीतून निर्लेखित करायची असतील, म्हणजेच आपल्या मराठीमध्ये राईट ऑफ करायची असतील, तर देर इज अ सेट प्रॅक्टिस की त्याला संचालक मंडळाचा ठराव झाला पाहिजे, ऑडिटरने ते सर्टिफाय केलं पाहिजे, त्यानंतर जनरल मीटिंगनं मंजूर केलं पाहिजे, आणि अ वर्गातल्या पतसंस्थांनी जनरल मीटिंगच्या मंजुरीने, ब क किंवा ड वर्गातल्या पतसंस्थांनी निबंधकाच्या मंजुरीने त्याचा जमा खर्च केला पाहिजे. पण अशा प्रकारे जर का लेखापरीक्षकाचं सर्टिफिकेट घेतलं नसेल ऑडिटरचं, तर तो भाग ब मधला म्हणजे अ मधल्या ब मधला मुद्दा आहे चार्जिंग करा, तो एक मुद्दा त्यातला महत्वाचा आहे. त्यानंतर दुसरा महत्वाचा मुद्दा म्हणजे जर का समितीच्या कामकाजामुळे बुडीत व संशयित वाटणारी कर्ज जर वाढली असतील तर त्या बाबतीत सुद्धा आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर संस्थेच्या खर्चात किंवा येणे रकमात वसुलीत असलेल्या काही अनियमित गोष्टी आढळल्या असतील तर त्याही बाबतीत आपल्याला लिहावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर संस्थेच्या मालमत्तांचा गैरवापर संस्थेच्या पदाधिकाऱ्यांनी आपल्यासाठी केला असेल तर त्या बाबतीत लिहायला लागेल. विनातारण किंवा असुरक्षित कर्जे असतील तर ती अदा केली असतील तर त्या बाबतीत सुद्धा आपल्याला लिहावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर असे सगळे जे मुद्दे आहेत ते भाग ब मध्ये आपल्याला मेन्शन करायचे आहेत. आणि भाग अ मधल्या क मध्ये जे मुद्दे निबंधकांनी त्यांची कारवाई करावी किंवा त्या बाबतीत शोकॉज नोटीस काढावी किंवा माहिती घ्यावी, अशा ज्या गोष्टी आहेत त्या गोष्टी आपण भाग क मध्ये मेन्शन करायला पाहिजे. आता त्याची उदाहरणं कुठली आहेत? समजा एखादा संचालक सतत 3 सभांना गैरहजर असेल तर त्याचं 4थ्या सभेमध्ये संचालक पद जातं. ते सभेच्या नोटिसीत घेतलं नसेल तर ते आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. अन्य कारणाने म्हणजे तो थकबाकीदार असेल किंवा अन्य कोणत्याही कारणाने त्याचं पद अनर्ह होत असेल म्हणजे ही इज डिस्क्वालिफाईड टू बी अ डायरेक्टर ऑफ एनी पर्टिक्युलर सोसायटी, असं जर होत असेल तर ते आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. किंवा तो अन्य संस्थेत जरी थकबाकीदार असला तरी इथे संस्थेत तो संचालक म्हणून राहू शकत नाही. तर या सगळ्या गोष्टींची माहिती आपल्याला कळाली असेल तर तेही आपल्याला सांगावं लागेल. त्यानंतर रूल 65 प्रमाणे नफा निश्चित केलाय का, त्यानंतर रूल 65 प्रमाणे नफ्याचं विभाजन केलंय का, त्यानंतर एखादा संचालक 73 CA प्रमाणे सदस्य नाही अशी गोष्ट असेल तर तेही आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. 4 महिन्यात ऑडिट पूर्ण नाही झालं, 6 महिन्यात वार्षिक सर्वसाधारण सभा नाही घेतली किंवा 6 महिन्यात सेक्शन 79 खालची रिटर्न फाईल नाही केली तर याही गोष्टी आपल्याला या भाग ब क मध्ये मेन्शन करायला लागतात. बाहेरील कर्ज मर्यादेचं उल्लंघन झालं असेल, त्यानंतर नमुना के प्रतिज्ञापत्र घेऊन सुद्धा एकापेक्षा जास्त अपात्र कर्जदारांना कर्ज दिलं असेल, अटींचा भंग करून काही कर्ज दिले असतील, त्यानंतर नामतालिकेतल्या पात्र लेखापरीक्षकाच्या ऐवजी अन्य कुठल्या तरी लेखापरीक्षकाची नेमणूक केली असेल किंवा लेखापरीक्षकाची नेमणूक केली आहे पण त्याचं संमती दिलं नसेल, अशा ज्या काही प्रोसिजरल गोष्टी आहेत की ज्यामध्ये निबंधकांनी त्याची खुलासा मागवणे, कारवाई करणे किंवा त्याच्यावर ऍक्शन घेण्याची आवश्यकता असेल, अशा ज्या ज्या बाबी आहेत त्या आपण भाग क मध्ये मेन्शन करतो. याचा थोडक्यात अर्थ असा की भाग अ हा अत्यंत महत्वाचा आहे त्यातला अ मधला अ जो आहे, ज्यावर आयपीसीच्या कलमांच्या काही गोष्टी मेन्शन करायच्या असतील तर करायचे आहेत. भाग ब मध्ये ज्यामध्ये संस्थेच्या आर्थिक नुकसानीला कारणीभूत झालेल्या गोष्टी मेन्शन करायच्या आहेत. आणि भाग क मध्ये ज्यावर निबंधकांनी काही कारवाई करायची आहे अशा गोष्टी त्या भाग क मध्ये आपल्याला मेन्शन करायचे. मग त्याच्यामध्ये बऱ्याच गोष्टी आहेत. म्हणजे अगदी सांगायचं झालं तर 45 दिवसात आर्थिक पत्रकं तयार झाली पाहिजेत. त्यानंतर रूल 69(4) मध्ये क्लिअरली मेन्शन केलंय की इन्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड ऑफ इंडियानं इश्यू केलेल्या 29 अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्डचं फॉलो होतात का नाही हे बघण्याची जबाबदारी ऑडिटरची आहे. मग तो सीए असो अगर नसो, कायद्यात आहे म्हणजे कोणी ऑडिटर आहे त्यानं ते बघितलं पाहिजे. त्यानंतर टीडीएस वजा होते का नाही, तक्रार निवारण समिती केली आहे का नाही, टेक्निकल डायरेक्टर घेतलेत का, उपविधीच्या तरतुदींचं पालन होतंय का, त्यानंतर ज्या रकमा हिशोबात घेणं रूल 69(6) प्रमाणे अमाऊंट ऑट टू बी क्रेडिटेड टू P&L अकाउंट आपल्याला टॅक्स ऑडिटच्या फॉर्म 3CD मध्ये पण आहे. तर तशा काही रकमा आहेत का तेही आपल्याला इथं मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. त्यानंतर रूल 49C नुसार SLR CRR मेंटेन होतोय का नाही, अशा बऱ्याच गोष्टी आहेत की ज्यावर डिपार्टमेंटच्या निबंधकांनी कामकाजामध्ये त्यांना विचारलं पाहिजे. अशा सगळ्या मुद्द्यांचा उहापोह त्याच्यामध्ये केलेला आहे. मला वाटतं भाग अ ब क बद्दल काही शंका असतील तर आपण चर्चा करूया प्रश्नोत्तराच्या माध्यमातून. पुढे जाऊया. भाग ब मध्ये एकूण 23 मुद्दे आहेत, ज्यामध्ये व्यवस्थापन विभाग आहे त्यामध्ये 23 मुद्दे आहेत. आर्थिक पत्रकाचं विवेचन, ज्याला आपण पूर्वी बॅलन्स शीट अनालिसिस म्हणत होतो, ते बॅलन्स शीट अनालिसिस आपण करत होतो. पण आता आपली पद्धत आणि इतरांची पद्धत आपण काय करत होतो, मागच्या वर्षीचा रिपोर्ट घ्यायचा, त्याच्यात काय बघायचं आणि त्याचा फॉलो करायचा. आता तसं चालणार नाही. आपल्याला सेट फॉर्मॅट दिलेला आहे डिपार्टमेंटनं, त्याच फॉर्मॅटमध्ये त्याच रेशोमध्ये रेशो सुद्धा दिलेले आहेत त्यांनी. आज बघितलं तुम्ही प्रत्येक संस्थांचे ऑडिट रिपोर्ट बघितले तर प्रत्येक ऑडिटचे रेशो वेगळे. मागच्या त्याच ऑडिटरचा दुसऱ्या संस्थेत रेशो वेगळा, ह्या संस्थेत रेशो वेगळा. म्हणजे त्याला जसं वाटेल, त्याला जसं रुचेल, त्याला जसं योग्य वाटेल त्याप्रमाणे तो लिहित होता ऑडिटर. आता तसं चालणार नाही आहे. आता आपल्याला रेशोज ठरवलेले आहेत. 29 रेशो दिले, ते 29 रेशो काढावेच लागतील आणि ते लिहावंच लागेल. अर्थात त्यातला भाग ब मधला जो अ आहे तो काय आहे, व्यवस्थापन विभाग आहे. व्यवस्थापन विभाग म्हणजे त्यातला पहिला मुद्दा आहे. 23 मुद्दे आहेत, मी 23 मुद्दे सांगतो. पहिला मुद्दा संस्थेचा नोंदणी क्रमांक व दिनांक. आता नोंदणी क्रमांक दिनांक आपण फॉर्म 1 मध्ये लिहितो, पण मला वाटतं हे आपल्या ऑडिट असिस्टंट कडून बऱ्याच वेळा लिहिलं जात असतं, आपलं दुर्लक्ष होतं. काही काही संस्थांचे शाखा मंजुरी नसते आणि मंजुरी पत्र नसतं तरी देखील शाखा चालू केलेल्या असतात आणि हे आपल्या ऑडिट रिपोर्ट मध्ये येत नाही. संस्थेचं कार्यक्षेत्र, शाखा व मुख्य कार्यालय व शाखा हा तिसरा मुद्दा आहे. आता शाखा किती आहेत? 16 शाखा आहेत. मंजुरी पत्र आहेत का? आपण नाही विचारत नॉर्मल कोर्समध्ये ऑडिट रिपोर्टमध्ये, कारण आपण सातत्यानं ऑडिट करत असतो त्या संस्थेचं. आणि मग त्यावेळेला आपल्या लक्षात येतं की आपल्याला काही शाखांना मंजुरीच नाही आहे आणि त्या शाखा कार्यरत आहेत. संस्थेचा उद्देश चौथा मुद्दा आहे. पाचवा मुद्दा सभासद, ज्यामध्ये जे नमुना J1 J2 यादी तयार आहे का, म्हणजे सभासदांची यादी आणि सभासदांची रजिस्टर हे दोन्ही आहे का. सभा कामकाज 6 नंबरला आहे. त्यामध्ये आपण लेखापरीक्षकांचे आक्षेप हे कोणत्या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये पाहिजेत, सभा दिनांक, ठराव क्रमांक, विषयाचा संक्षिप्त परिचय, तपशील आणि ऑडिटरचा आक्षेप, अशा 6 कॉलम मध्ये हे आपल्याला उत्तरं द्यायची आहेत. त्यानंतर उपसमितीचं त्याचप्रमाणे आहे. त्यानंतर 8 नंबरला आहे अंतर्गत नियंत्रण, इंटरनल कंट्रोल, त्यामध्ये सेवक कामकाज, शाखांतर्गत व्यवहार. त्यानंतर विविध लेखापरीक्षण व तपासण्या हे त्यातलाच भाग आहे. म्हणजे आपल्याला कोणकोणती आहेत, मागचा ऑडिट रिपोर्ट झालाय का, त्याचं रेक्टिफिकेशन दिलंय का, इंटरनल ऑडिट रिपोर्ट झालाय का, टॅक्स ऑडिट झालंय का, टेस्ट ऑडिट झालंय का, 89(1) ची तपासणी झाली आहे का, सेक्शन 83-88 ची काही एन्क्वायरी झाली आहे का. या सगळ्या गोष्टी आपल्याला कॉलमनर दिल्यामुळे आता त्या मेन्शन कराव्या लागणार आहेत की हे गेल्या वर्षात घडलंय का. समजा एखाद्या संस्थेचं टॅक्स ऑडिट लागूच नसेल, त्याला करणार नाही ते, मग तिथं आपल्याला निरंक लिहावं लागेल, पण ते मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर सहकार, शिक्षण, प्रशिक्षण, संगणक प्रणाली ऑडिट, त्याच्यामध्ये आपल्याला 100% आपल्या शाखा जर का ब्रांचेस जर कम्प्युटराइज असतील तर मग आपल्याला डेटा सुरक्षा नियंत्रण, म्हणजे ज्याला आपण सायबर सिक्युरिटी म्हणतो आणि कंट्रोल म्हणतो, त्याच्या बाबतीतला आपल्याला अभिप्राय द्यायचा आहे. त्यानंतर कोणत्या फर्मनं ते ऑडिट केलं, त्याचे मुख्य आक्षेप काय होते, म्हणजे मेजर पॉइंट्स मेन्शन इन दी सिस्टम ऑडिट रिपोर्ट, हेही आपल्याला मेन्शन करायचे आहेत. 9वा मुद्दा आहे कायदा व कानून पोटनियमाचं उल्लंघन काय झालं असेल तर ते लिहायचं आहे. आता स्वनिधी व भागांचं नक्त मूल्य. आता काय माहितीये का की महाराष्ट्र सहकारी संस्था कायद्याच्या कलम 23 मध्ये आपल्याला लक्षात येत असेल की नक्त मूल्य म्हणजे त्याचं नेट व्हॅल्यू ऑफ शेअर्स इज डिटरमाइंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द फिगर्स ऑफ बॅलन्स शीट. म्हणजे गेल्या वर्षीच्या आर्थिक पत्रकानुसार असणाऱ्या भाग भांडवल, राखीव निधी, इमारत निधी व इतर फ्री निधी वजा तोटे यांची जी काय व्हॅल्यू येईल डिवायडेड बाय नंबर ऑफ शेअर्स करून जे काही रक्कम येईल ते त्या संस्थेचं नक्त मूल्य असणार आहे. बरोबर. तर ते नक्त मूल्य जे आहे ते नक्त मूल्य जर दर्शनी किमतीपेक्षा कमी असेल तर ते त्याचं व्हॅल्युएशन असणार आहे, मूल्यांकन असणार आहे. पण जर का ते नक्त मूल्य म्हणजे नेट व्हॅल्यू जर त्याच्या दर्शनी किमतीपेक्षा जास्त असेल तर 100 रुपये जर दर्शनी मूल्य असेल तर 100 रुपये त्याचं व्हॅल्युएशन होणार आहे. तर हे सुद्धा आपल्याला या रिपोर्टच्या माध्यमातून आता मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. त्याचबरोबर रोखता तरलता निधीचं प्रमाण, वैधानिक निधीचं प्रमाण, बाहेरील कर्ज मर्यादा पूर्वी आपण उल्लंघली गेली असली तरच देत होतो. आता इथं कॉलमच आलाय आणि तुम्हाला लिहावंच लागणार आहे की बाहेरील कर्ज मर्यादा आहे किती आणि तुमच्या ठेवी आहेत किती. त्यानंतर ठेवी व कर्जावरील व्याजदर. आता पतसंस्था नियामक मंडळाने एक पत्र काढलं होतं मध्ये की ठेवींच्या कर्जाचा कमाल व्याजदर हा 9.5% जास्त असतो. कर्जाचा कमाल व्याजदर हा 13% जास्त असता कामा नये. फक्त विनातारणीच्या बाबतीमध्ये तो 15% असू शकतो. तर हे जो उल्लंघन झालंय का, पूर्वीची कर्ज असतील तर ती चालू राहायला मुभा दिलेली जरी असली तरी आता नवीन कर्ज देताना अशा प्रकारे कुठला जादा व्याजदराचं कर्ज दिले का हे आपल्याला त्याच्यामध्ये मांडावं लागणार आहे. त्यानंतर कर्ज व ठेवींचा व्याजाचा दुरावा नेट इंटरेस्ट मार्जिन ज्याला आपण ॲव्हरेज लेंडिंग रेट आणि ॲव्हरेज बॉरोइंग रेट म्हणतो हे आपल्याला कॅल्क्युलेट करावं लागणार आहे, ते मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. कारण त्याच्या बाबतीत सहकार आयुक्त व निबंधकांचे एक परिपत्रक आहे 12/11/2008चं. त्या परिपत्रकाप्रमाणे हे कॅल्क्युलेट करून हे आपण बघत होतो, असं नव्हतं असं नाही, बघत होतो, बट हे आपण मेन्शन करत नव्हतो. आपल्याला हे मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्यानंतर रूल 79 प्रमाणे रिटर्न्स फाईल केलेत का नाही हे आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड. आता अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड आल्यानंतर खरं तर आपली गंमत अशी आहे की आपल्या चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट्सची ही ड्युटी आहे की अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड्स फॉलो झालेत का नाही बघण्याची, आणि जर ते फॉलो झाले नसतील तर आपल्याला डिसएग्रीमेंट विथ द फायनान्शियल स्टेटमेंट किंवा त्याच्याबद्दल स्पेसिफिक मेन्शन सर्टिफिकेटमध्ये आपल्याला करायचं आहे हे आपल्याला लक्षात घेतलं पाहिजे. आणि ते जोपर्यंत आपण करत नाही तोपर्यंत आपण वी आर परफॉर्मिंग अवर ड्युटीज प्रॉपरली असं म्हणता येणार नाही. त्यामुळे आपल्याला आपण प्रॉपर त्याचा उल्लेख केला पाहिजे की कशा पद्धतीने आपण या सगळ्या अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्डचा. तर त्यातलं सगळ्यात उदाहरण द्यायचं झालं तर अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड 1 AS1 डिस्क्लोजर ऑफ अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी. गेल्या वर्षीच्या वार्षिक अहवालासोबत त्या संस्थेनं जमा खर्चाचं धोरण दिले का हो, तर बऱ्याच ठिकाणी ते दिलेलं नसते. मग आपण म्हटलं पाहिजे की AS1 इज नॉट फॉलोड. AS15 ग्रॅच्युटीची प्रोव्हिजन केली आहे का, नाही केली असेल तर लिहायला पाहिजे. AS22 डिफर्ड टॅक्स लायबिलिटीची प्रोव्हिजन केली आहे का. आता आपल्यात टॅक्सेबिलिटीज नाही म्हणून काही येत नाही, पण आपण मेन्शन केलं पाहिजे की वेदर AS22 इज फॉलोड ऑर नॉट. असं बरंच आहे. इवन AS10 फिक्स असेटच्या बाबतीमध्ये आपला अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड असं म्हणतं देर शुड बी मेन्शन ऑफ ग्रॉस ब्लॉक, नेट ब्लॉक अँड अक्युम्युलेटेड डिप्रिशिएशन. आपण ते मेन्शन करत नाही. आणि जर त्या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये बॅलन्स शीट नसेल तर आपल्याला क्वालिफिकेशन लिहायचा अधिकार आहे, आपण लिहित नाही. अशा सगळ्या गोष्टी अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्डच्या आपल्याला बघाव्या लागतील आणि मग आपल्याला ते मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर आपण संस्थेच्या व संस्थेच्या विरुद्ध असलेली जी न्यायालयातली प्रकरणं, कायदेशीर प्रकरणं आहेत, नो डाऊट आपण कर्ज तपासत होतो, 101च्या प्रकरणांची तपासणी करत होतो, सगळी माहिती लिहित होतो. पण संस्थेच्या विरुद्ध सर्वोच्च न्यायालय, उच्च न्यायालयापासून, जिल्हा सत्र न्यायालयापासून, सहकार न्यायालयापासून ते मंत्री सहकारपासून, सहकार आयुक्तापासून ते 101 खालची आणि विभागीय संनिबंधकांच्या वेगवेगळ्या स्तरावरची किती प्रकरणं पेंडिंग आहे, प्रलंबित प्रकरणे किती, हे आपल्याला आकडेवारी सहित प्रकरणांच्या नंबर सहित तपशील द्यावा लागणार आहे. आपण हे पूर्वी बघत नव्हतो, आपल्याला हे द्यावं लागेल आता. म्हणजे बराच डाटा हा आपल्याला संस्थेकडून मागून घेऊन द्यावा लागणार आहे. त्याचबरोबर केवायसीच्या बाबतीमध्ये आपण पूर्तता बघायला पाहिजे. सोने मूल्यांकन कराराचा मुद्दा नोटराईज आहे का साधा करार आहे ते मेन्शन करावं लागेल. पतसंस्था नियामक मंडळाच्या उल्लंघनाच्या बाबी आहेत त्याही आपल्याला मेन्शन कराव्या लागतील. संस्थेच्या उपविधीच्या दुरुस्ती बाबीचं कामकाज हे कायद्याला धरून झालंय का नाही ते लिहावं लागेल. विमाच्या बाबतीमध्ये 23वा मुद्दा मेन्शन करून आपला भाग ब मधला हा मुद्दा संपणार आहे. आणि त्यानंतर येतो आपली ताळेबंद विवेचन. आता ताळेबंद विवेचन आपण पूर्वी करत होतो त्याचप्रमाणे आहे, मोर ऑर लेस सेम आहे. फार काय आता त्याच्यामध्ये बदल नाही आहे. फक्त गुंतवणुकीच्या बाबतीमध्ये बऱ्याच गोष्टी आपल्याला मेन्शन करायला त्यांनी सांगितलेल्या आहेत. त्या आपल्याला तुम्ही पावत्या तपासल्या का ते नमूद करायचं आहे. त्यानंतर गुंतवणुकीचा चढ उतार निधी केलाय का. आता खास करून पतसंस्थांच्या बाबतीमध्ये काय आहे की मेजर पतसंस्थांनी पीएमसी बँकेमध्ये गुंतवणूक केलेली आहे. आता पीएमसी बँकेच्या गुंतवणुकीच्या बाबतीमध्ये संशयित व बुडीत कर्ज निधीची तरतूद केली का त्यामध्ये, किंवा चढ उतार निधीची तरतूद केली का, हे बघावं लागणार आपल्याला. आणि त्याच्याही पेक्षा महत्वाचं, त्याची जी काही एकूण मर्जरची स्कीम आली किंवा त्या मर्जरच्या स्कीम नंतर सुप्रीम कोर्टचं जजमेंट आलं, मार्चला त्यांनी इंटरेस्ट दिलं, परत रिव्हर्स केलं, तर या सगळ्या गोष्टी आपल्याला बारकाईनं बघून तिथं मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. त्यानंतर जी काय कलम 70 विरुद्धची गुंतवणूक आहे त्याच्यावरही आपल्याला तिथे मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. म्हणजे ओव्हरऑल जर पतसंस्थांच्या आर्थिक पत्रकाच्या विवेचनाचा जर उल्लेख केला तर फार काय आपल्याला तिथं वेगळं काय लिहावं लागणार नाही. पूर्वीची जी प्रोसिजर आहे तीच फॉलो करायला लागणार आहे. त्याचबरोबर आर्थिक प्रमाणके जी आहेत, म्हणजे ज्याला आपण रेशोज म्हणतो, ते रेशोज आपल्याला 29 रेशो त्यांनी डिफाईन करून दिलेले आहेत. त्याची सूत्र दिलेली आहेत. त्या सूत्रांमध्ये ते 29 रेशो आपल्याला डिपेंडिंग ऑन द फायनान्शियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ सोसायटी तयार करावे लागतील आणि त्याप्रमाणे आपल्याला मेन्शन करावं लागेल. त्याचबरोबर ठेवी कर्जांची व्यवहारांच्या बाबतीमध्ये बाकी काही नाही, आपण हे सगळं देत आलेलो आहे. परंतु ठेवी कर्जांची कालनिहाय विगतवारी, ज्याला आपण एएलएम मध्ये आपण जे बँकांच्या बाबतीत करतो, म्हणजे एएलएमच्या बाबतीत आपण बँकांच्या बाबतीत कसं करतो, 1 वर्षाच्या आत परत करायच्या ठेवी, 2 वर्षाच्या आत करायच्या ठेवी, 3 वर्षाच्या वर, 5 वर्षाच्या वर, अशा पद्धतीने कालनिहाय जी आकडेवारी द्यायची आहे, मला वाटते ती आपल्याला आकडेवारी संस्थांच्याकडून घ्यावी लागेल. आणि ज्या केसमध्ये आपल्याला आकडेवारी मिळणार नाही तिथं, म्हणजे सिस्टीम जनरेटेड नाही होऊ शकत असेल तर, किंवा काही सॉफ्टवेअरमध्ये ती सोयच नसेल, तर आपल्याला तिथं स्पेसिफिक मेन्शन करावं लागेल की वी आस्क फॉर दिस इन्फॉर्मेशन बट सोसायटी हॅज नॉट सबमिटेड दिस इन्फॉर्मेशन. आपल्याला ती माहिती सादर करण्यात आलेली नाही किंवा संगणकीय प्रणालीद्वारे ती माहिती आपल्याला मिळण्यामध्ये अडचणी आहेत, हे आपल्याला तिथे मेन्शन करावं लागणार आहे. त्यानंतर ठेवी व कर्जांच्या व्यवहारामध्ये मला वाटतं एवढंच आहे. आणि ते झाल्यानंतर विनातारणी कर्ज किती, कालनिहाय कर्जाची बाकी आणि एकूण थकबाकीमध्ये 11 प्रकारची माहिती द्यायची आहे. फक्त थकबाकीमध्ये 11 प्रकारची माहिती द्यायची आहे. 11 प्रकारची माहिती म्हणजे जवळपास एक थकबाकीमध्ये थकबाकीची रक्कम, शाखानिहाय थकबाकी, कालनिहाय थकबाकी, प्रभावशाली थकबाकी म्हणजे 25 मोठे थकबाकीदार, थकबाकीदारांच्यावर केलेली कारवाई, थकीत येणे व्याज, बुडीत कर्ज रकमा जर काढून टाकल्या असतील खर्चातून तर त्या, शासनाने लागू केलेली एक रकमी परतफेड योजना, अनुत्पादक जिंदगीचा प्रोफॉर्मा म्हणजे ज्याला आपण एनपीएचा प्रोफॉर्मा म्हणतो ते, त्यानंतर एनपीएची प्रमाण, संचालक व नातेवाईकांना दिलेली कर्जे, असं एवढं मोठं थकबाकीचं माहितीचं आपल्याला सगळं गोळा करून आपल्याला त्यामध्ये माहिती द्यावी लागणार आहे. आणि त्यानंतर येतो तो भाग क, ज्यामध्ये आपल्याला नॉर्मल क्लेरिकल मिस्टेक्स, वाउचर तपासणीमधील कर्जरोख्यांच्या व्यवहारांचे मधील जमा नावे वाउचरमधील तपासणीतील दोष, अशा प्रकारे हे सगळ्या माहिती आपल्याला या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये द्यावी लागणार आहे. भरपूर डिस्कशन करता येण्यासारखे विषय आहेत, म्हटलं तर खूप आहे. कारण हा विषय घेत असताना मला असं वाटतंय की सहकार कायद्यातल्या महत्वाच्या ज्या तरतुदी आहेत की ज्यामध्ये ऑडिटरनी बघणं गरजेचं आहे, तो विषय जर ह्याला जोडून घेतला तर मला वाटतं ते जास्त चांगलं होऊ शकतं येणाऱ्या काळामध्ये. कारण एकंदरीत जर बघितलं तर आपल्याला खूप गोष्टी बघाव्या लागतात आणि खूप गोष्टी बघत असताना आपल्याला ऑडिट मॅन्युअल, सरकार कायद्यातल्या महत्वाच्या तरतुदी आणि मग एकूण जर बघितलं ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी तर लेखापरीक्षकाला अगोदरच माहित पाहिजे की आपल्याला ऑडिटला जाताना माहिती काय काय घ्यायची आहे. मला असं वाटतंय की हे जे सर्क्युलर आहे हे सर्क्युलर बघून आपण पतसंस्थेला एक मॅनेजमेंट रिप्रेझेंटेशन लेटर तयार करण्यासाठी आणि माहितीसाठी 2 पत्र काढावी लागतील आणि त्या पत्रानुसार काय काय आपल्याला माहिती पाहिजे, कोणत्या नमुन्यात पाहिजे ते आपल्याला त्यांना दिलं पाहिजे. त्याचबरोबर आपल्याला महाराष्ट्र सहकारी संस्था कायदा माहित पाहिजेच, पण भारतीय दंडविधान कायदा पण माहित पाहिजे. त्यानंतर ज्या वेळेला एखादी तपासणी करतो त्यावेळेला ते कोणत्या कायद्यातलं कोणतं कलम उल्लंघलं गेलं आहे आणि त्याच्याबद्दलचं त्याचं ठाम मत निर्माण झालं पाहिजे, तरच आपल्याला इथं आता हे रिपोर्ट मांडता येणार आहे. त्यानंतर जे रेशोज आहेत ते रेशो सुद्धा आपल्याला प्रॉपर कॅल्क्युलेट करून घेतले पाहिजेत. जर त्यांनी दिले तर ते तपासले पाहिजेत. त्याचबरोबर आपल्याला अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड्स अप्लाय केले पाहिजेत. म्हणजे खास करून मी जो उल्लेख केला AS1, AS10, AS15, AS22, AS28 इम्पेअरमेंट ऑफ असेट सुद्धा आपल्याला मेन्शन करता आलं पाहिजे. त्याचबरोबर आपण जी काही ऑडिट करतो त्या ऑडिटच्या मुद्द्यांची सगळे मुद्दे आपण संचालक मंडळाशी चर्चा करून त्यांची ठरावाची प्रत घेतली पाहिजे. आपण काय करतो, नॉर्मली डिस्कशन करतो. एक इश्यू आला होता परवाच एका बँकेच्या बाबतीमध्ये. माझ्या ओळखीचे एक लेखापरीक्षक ऑडिटर आहेत, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट, त्यांनी ऑडिट केलं आणि त्या ऑडिटरांच्यावर फौजदारी गुन्हा त्या बँकेने दाखल केला. कारण त्यांनी जो स्पेशल रिपोर्ट केला तो डिस्कस केला नाही संचालक मंडळावर. एवढ्या कारणावर त्यांनीच उलट ऑडिटरवर कारवाई केली, ऑडिटरवर दावा दाखल केला. तो टिकेल नाही टिकेल हा नंतरचा भाग आहे, पण त्याची न्यूज व्हॅल्यू मोठी असते, बातमी मोठी झाली आणि आमच्या इकडे वृत्तपत्रामध्ये मोठी बातमी आली की ऑडिटरवरच दावा दाखल केला एका बँकेच्या संचालक मंडळानं. अशाही गोष्टी घडत असतात. त्यामुळे मला असं वाटतंय की आपण पीअर रिव्ह्यू झालेल्या चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट फर्मला कळेल की काय काय डॉक्युमेंट आपण घेतले पाहिजेत, वर्किंग पेपर्स कसे ठेवले पाहिजेत, ठराव कोणते घेतले पाहिजेत, ऑडिटच्या मुद्द्यांची चर्चा केलेला ठराव सुद्धा घेणं हे सुद्धा फार महत्वाचं आहे. याचं कारण असं, उद्या ते म्हणू शकतात की ही मुद्दा आम्हाला सांगितला नाही, उद्या ते म्हणू शकतात की द मॅटर वॉज नॉट डिस्कस विथ द बोर्ड ऑफ मॅनेजमेंट ऑर द बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स. त्यामुळे ह्या सगळ्या प्रिकॉशन्स आपण घेतल्या पाहिजेत. येणाऱ्या काळामध्ये कॉशियस आपण काम केलं पाहिजे. मला वाटते मी कव्हर केलेला आहे सगळा विषय. I am thankful for all the branches, Amravati, Jalgaon, Akola, Nagar, Kolhapur, and all the branches and all the chairmen and all the office bearers, MOC. I am thankful to all members who are participating in this lecture, and I am thankful to the WRC, or I am thankful to the ICI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Now let's move to our second technical session. I request Pawan Kumar Garak sir, chairperson of Ahmednagar branch, to please take the charge.
Surely. Thank you, Vicky bhai. Prabhu sir, host बनाएंगे प्रभु सर?
एक मिनट. हाँ प्रभु सर होस्ट है सर. सुनील सर शेअरिंग स्टॉप करावं लागेल.
हो करा
प्रभु सर.
एक मिनिट मैं कॉल करतो प्रभु.
I am there, very much there.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunil, you have delivered a lecture very fantastically. I was listening to very carefully. चांगलं लेक्चर दिलं. मला पण खूप ज्ञान मिळालं तुमच्याकडून.
तुमचा आवाज बरा आहे का?
हा थोडस बसलेलं.
हा छान छान. थँक्यू सर.
Yes sir. So let me introduce our today's speaker, C. Ramesh Prabhu sir. It's my immense pleasure to introduce sir. Sir is the founder, partner of the RS Prabhu and Associates. Sir is in the practice since more than 30 years and having the wide experience in the field of RERA and cooperative housing. He is the regular faculty for the various seminars at WRC, even various government department, NGOs, and various cooperative societies, cooperative housing societies, etc. Sir has authored more than 40 books and recently authored a book, Self-Redevelopment, which is released by Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhavji Thackeray, recently. Sir is also appointed by the government of Maharashtra for drafting law on deemed conveyance. He is currently the committee member of government of Maharashtra, a committee on cooperative housing society. Sir is the chairman of Maharashtra Society Welfare Association. So I can well say, C. Prabhu sir is the synonym for the cooperative housing and the RERA. With this very brief introduction, sir, I welcome you for this special webinar. Over to you, sir.
Good morning and good afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity by all the branches, especially Amravati branch who has taken the lead, and of course ICI for giving us this opportunity. For the last few days, I'm suffering from the throat infection, and I have been advised by the doctor not to speak much. However, the subject is so close to me, so I thought I should address it. Now, as far as housing society is concerned, on 9th March 2019, the Cooperative Act has been amended. There is Chapter 13B has been introduced. In that, Section 154B to 54B1 to 154B31, there are nearly 32 sections which have been added. Now, this gives the special status to the cooperative housing society. And as I said, the cooperative housing society, as far as election is concerned, they are divided into two parts. One is the more than 250 members, and another is less than or up to 250 members. The elections of a housing society less than and up to 250 members can be conducted by the society themselves, and above 250, naturally it will be done by the Maharashtra State Cooperative Election Authority. The new election rule has been published on 7th April or 6th April 2021, and the elections are now conducted by the election officer appointed by the society up to 250 members. Now, I'm not, as I said, going to deal with many, but I can only say that 97th Constitutional Amendment, because of which there were certain changes done in the MCS Act, active, non-active member. The Constitutional Amendment has been set aside by the Supreme Court. And because the Constitutional Amendment is set aside, now the definition of active, non-active members are not there in this Act. They have been removed. And a new amendment to this has been done as latest as 28th March 2022. With this, the topic given to me is audit, compliances, and taxation. I request my colleague, who is also the regular speaker in various forums, Amit More, to take it forward. And if there are any questions and answer, definitely I will be there to address them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pawan sir, can you please introduce our today's Amit sir, speaker?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, so let me introduce CA Amit More. Sir, he is the member of A. More and Company, one of the leading firm working in the field of cooperative audits, tax audits, bank audit, RERA, and various other special audits. He is the regular faculty on the topics like RERA and cooperative housing. Most importantly, he has regular contributory of WIFC referencer in the cooperative segment. And he's also the managing committee member of Kalyan and Dombivli branch. With this very brief introduction, I request Amit sir to take the charge.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu sir. And thank you all the branches for giving me this opportunity. I will just continue with Sunil sir's lecture, because at the end of his lecture, he discussed about form number 1 and part ABC audit report. So I will take ahead this particular forms first in regard to housing societies, because form number 1, form number 8A, he discussed. In the same manner, there is an amendment for housing societies also in the format of form number 7. They have introduced form number 7 for cooperative housing societies. So I will just share my screen first. So whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes.
So I will discuss audit related with cooperative housing societies, all other points. But first, I will take form number 7. But because just now Sunil sir completed part ABC, form number 1. So I will continue with form number 7, which is a new format specifically for cooperative housing societies. Okay. So in this particular form number 7, prior to this particular amendment, there was old forms, form number 1 and 26 we were used to give for housing societies. Now we need to give form number 1 and form number 7 for housing societies. In this particular form, we need to give information, that is a basic information like name of the society, class, subclass, tenant, ownership housing society, this basic information we need to give. After that, we need to give information about working of the society. Earlier, this type of detailed information was not asked for by registrar in case of housing societies. So here, whether any type of government or financial assistance society has taken, then that particular information we need to give. Normally, nowadays, no society falls under this particular category. Then finance from other financial institutions as a society, if they have taken any particular loan from any particular institution for at the time of construction or even at the time of redevelopment of the society, that type of information we need to give in this particular section. This is also not very common. Then land and construction of buildings. In case of land, all the details of land, the land on which this particular society is, the society's building is constructed, that particular land details we need to give. And if that particular land is not a conveyanced land, then specific information is to be given that conveyance has not been taken in that particular society. Then same way, if that is a constructed society from the funds of the society, that is a very old type, that construction related information they have asked. Again, this is not very common. Next question is related with conveyance deed, specific question related with conveyance deed. This particular question is very common, and normally we were used to report this type of question in our old form number 26 as well as in our main audit report part A. So here specific information they have asked. Then if the particular building is under construction or reconstruction or redevelopment, then all these questions we need to answer. That is whether annual general body meeting is accorded the approval for redevelopment, or that section 79A approvals has been taken or not. All these questions we need to give, or rather I will say as an auditor we need to check all these facts and we need to report this particular question if the society is under redevelopment. Then this is very important, point number 6. Point number 6 onwards, we need to report every point, that is monthly contribution for maintenance. Now, whether the society has decided the contribution for maintenance as per bylaws and it is sanctioned as per annual general body meeting. Now, we need to check this particular question very cautiously, because as an auditor, we find that many a times auditor just take income and expenditure accounts or their maintenance chart from managing committee and they just finalize their audit reports. But now we need to check in which annual general body meeting this particular maintenance was passed or sanctioned. And you need to take on record copy of that particular general body maintenance, general body resolution copy. And you need to report over here whether that maintenance distribution, maintenance charges are as per bylaws or not. That is question number 1. And whether it is sanctioned in annual general body meeting, and if it is sanctioned in annual general body meeting, then in which meeting this particular sanction was taken. It may happen that this particular maintenance is same for say
last 4 to 5 years. If it is last 4 to 5 years, then you need to check and you need to take on record that 4 years back resolution copy, and you need to mention that particular date, in which date this particular maintenance was approved in the annual general body meeting. So this is very crucial question. Then whether the contribution is according to the parameters set in the bylaws and as per directions of the registrar. So here I will say this particular question is very crucial, because as per parameters set in bylaws, in case of sinking fund and repairs fund, there are specific parameters set, that is you need to consider 0.25% of construction cost as a sinking fund contribution and 0.75% of construction cost contribution towards repairs fund. Whether society is following that particular practice or not, and whether or whatever is your observation in that particular regard, you need to mention in this particular point, because many of the societies do not follow this particular practice very carefully. So you need to write your comments specifically over here. In addition to that, I will say there is one more crucial point, that is 10% of the maintenance charges societies normally take as their non-occupancy charges, and many societies take more than that, that is more than 10% of the service charges as a non-occupancy charges at a fixed rate, say for example 200 rupees per month, 300 rupees per month or so. Few days back, I think a month back or 2 months back, I came to know there is one disciplinary proceedings result was given not in favor of a chartered accountant, and he was found guilty. Why? Just because he has not commented on this particular point, that society is not charging maintenance at 10% of service charges. That particular society was charging more than 10% of service charges. And what was the auditor's fault? Auditor not reported this particular fact in his auditor's report. And one of the aggrieved person in that particular society, he filed complaint with our institute under disciplinary that auditor has not provided full information, which is compulsory as per circular of department. Based on that, there was disciplinary decision given by our institute. Then matter went up to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court's decision was not in favor of the chartered accountant. So we need to be very careful in this particular point. We need to specifically, we need to give details of charges charged by the society, which is not as per bylaw. We need to give carefully in this particular section. Whether any amount of such contribution is outstanding and overdue as per bylaws, state the same of the concerned member and the amount. Now here they are asking for any amount of such contribution is outstanding and overdue as per bylaws. So outstanding list of members they are asking in this particular section. Whether society had charged or recorded penal interest on the overdue contribution. So whether society charging penal interest, again, which is as per bylaw or not, whether that particular rate is approved in the bylaw or not. Many times we find that societies charge interest at the rate of 21%, which is of course as per bylaw, but that particular rate was never approved in the annual general body meeting, because once you accept that particular bylaw, but you need to specifically mention that you are accepting that penal interest which is at the rate of 21%. At least you need to discuss that penal interest rate which is mentioned in the bylaw. We are approving that. Once you approve your bylaw, obviously all the provisions of the bylaw you are approving. That is right. But if you mention specifically about the rate, then it will be an added advantage. But you need to be very careful while reporting on this particular thing. The next point is related with fund management. whether society has provided sinking fund, repairs fund, maintenance fund, election funds, which is as per bylaw or not. Specific question. Whether rules for utilization of sinking fund and repairs fund have been prepared and approved in annual general body meeting. Now, here again, in case of housing societies, there is a common practice that for major expenses, they utilize the sinking fund and repairs fund as per the resolutions passed in the managing body or managing committee. But actually, if it is a really a major repairs expenses, it should be, and if it is to be done from sinking fund or repairs and maintenance fund balance, then it should be approved by the annual general body meeting. So specific resolution, whether it is passed or not, you need to comment as an auditor. Then whether surplus fund are invested as per Act, rules and bylaws. Here, whether that sinking fund contribution, whether that is invested appropriately, repairs fund balance, whether it is invested appropriately, that particular information you need to do. Then next, there is a specific question related with transfer of flats or house or bungalows by the members. Whether during the period of audit, any transfer of flat, bungalow or unit by any member have been taken place. Answer specifically yes or no, you need to give over here. Once you give answer specifically yes over in this particular field, next question will arise whether that transfer provisions has been followed or not. That is membership application, consent of the outgoing member, then indemnity bond given by the incoming member, transfer fees, transfer premium. All these questions you need to check very carefully, and you need to give a specific answer to this. This is something new which was not asked earlier. So I discussed this particular form in the first place because this particular form is new for housing societies. Up to financial year 2021, department has accepted form number, old form, that is form number 26. But from this year, they have insisted that we need to give information in form number 7. Now, next, one more important question is, which normally all the participants ask, whether we need to give this particular information in English or in Marathi. So as per department circular, all this information we need to give in English, we need to give in Marathi only. For convenience purpose, I have taken this particular English version of this particular form. So if your society is insisting for English version, you can give English version, but for departmental use, you need to give form in Marathi. So this was form number 7. Then I will move to my main presentation. I will discuss in line with the points discussed by Sunil sir. That is points discussed by Sunil sir related with specific report, special report, report in part ABC, form number 1. All the points which was covered by Sunil sir is equally applicable for a housing society. That is form number audit report in part ABC. What should be in their part A, what should be there in part B, what should be there in part C is equally applicable for housing society. Whatever he discussed for credit societies is in same line, it is applicable for housing society. So I will not repeat the points again. I will take to few common mistakes which auditors do. Before that, I will go to audit checklist. That is, while conducting audit of a cooperative housing society per se, what checklist you should follow, what points you should consider. This is a very long checklist, but we need to take this particular checklist on record. That is opening balances checking, cash and bank vouching, cash and bank book posting, ledger scrutiny. All these things we normally do, or wherever books of accounts are maintained in computerized environment, we depend on that software data, which is majoritarily in Tally books of accounts format. So we comfortably check all these points, that double entry bookkeeping system and all. But nowadays, there is in case of big societies, we find that many online software solutions are available in the market. And whenever there are online software solutions are available in market, my advice to you that you should download all the reports in PDF formats. You need to keep all the reports with you, because many softwares are allowing backdated entries without leaving any audit trail in that particular thing. Many softwares are free for the societies, and being free for the societies, they do not take any kind of responsibility on their shoulder. So it is advisable you should take PDF copies of entire set of books of accounts, and you need to check ledgers very carefully in this online platform, because in my opinion, many software companies or many ledgers software companies, they give to the society, but there are many missing leads in those reports. Say for example, whenever there are combined entries passed in the journal, or while making any receipt entry, or while making any payment entry, they post entire thing, or they show in their ledger entire thing in the first ledger only. So especially in case of combined entries, you need to be very careful for ledger scrutiny purpose. Then closing bank balance to be cross-checked with the ledgers and bank statement, passbook, bank reconciliation should be on the record. Deposit slips to be cross-checked with members ledger. TDS is equally applicable in case of housing society. All the provisions related with TDS are equally applicable to housing societies. So TDS ledgers to be scrutinized, whether deduction is done in appropriate manner, whether tax has been paid in time, whether TDS returns are filed. You need to check all these points properly. Then all statutory registers to be checked, that is I, J, share register, nomination register, whether all these registers are kept properly or not, you need to check. Then you need to obtain copies of minute books for general body meeting as well as managing committee meetings. You need to go through all the committee meetings as well as general body meetings, and you need to take on record any special notings or any changes which is having impact on financial position, or any special decision taken which is regarding maintenance collection or withdrawal of fixed deposits, etc. You need to take copies for your documentation purpose. Then nomination register is to be checked. Then membership application, in case of any transfer or new members appointment, you need to check whether membership register is updated or not. Then if there is any duplicate share certificate issued by the society, you need to check whether proper procedure has been followed for issuance of duplicate share certificate. Normally, no auditor check this particular share registers counterfoils. So as an auditor, we need to ask for share registers counterfoils, and we need to check what is the last entry made in that particular share register counterfoil, and accordingly you can come to know whether any duplicate share certificate was issued during your period or not, whether that is properly supported by all the documents, resolutions of the committee or not. You need to check all these points. If there is any irregularity, you can mention in your audit report. Then investment register to be checked. Many times societies have a habit of reinvesting fixed deposit receipts without keeping copies of original fixed deposit receipt on the record. That can create a mess in future. So you need to check very carefully whether investment register is maintained properly or not. Then check previous year's audit rectification report, whether it is filed or not. In case of appointment of contractor for any major thing, check whether proper procedure is followed or not, and any other significant issues. which can happen, which can hamper the financial position of the society, you need to check very carefully. This is a sample list of infringement under the Cooperative Societies Act rules and bylaws. So if there is a violation under which section of the Act, under which rule of the Act, and under which bylaw of the Act, this is a sample list. You can go through this particular list. You can use this as a checkpoint while conducting your audit for housing society. Then these are the common mistakes that cooperative society statutory auditor they make. That is appointment by managing committee and not by the general body, and still audit is accepted. Now, as discussed by Sunil sir also, appointment is to be authorized by the appropriate body. He discussed for cooperative banks appointment. Now this is the time for housing societies. In case of housing societies has to appoint their auditor only and only in the annual general body meeting. And in the annual general body meeting, they have to appoint auditor for next financial year. Say for example, annual general body meeting for financial year 2021, there was a due date that for financial year 2021, they can conduct general body meeting as per the extension circulars, maximum up to 31st of March 2022. So in the annual general body meeting for the financial year 2021, which is to be placed on or before 31st March 2022, auditor's appointment is to be made in that particular annual general body meeting for financial year 21-22. And who should be your auditor for financial year 21-22 is to be decided in that particular annual general body meeting. And accordingly, you need to generate audit orders for that particular auditor. Auditor has to accept that particular appointment. Then you need to generate audit orders from departmental website, or you can submit that particular physical copy to registrar's office so that you can have a regular auditor in place. Whenever we accept such auditor's appointment for any annual general body meeting for any financial year of the society, first thing what we need to check is you need to check last year's auditor's report. That is, if any society comes to me for financial year 21-22's audit, I ask for financial year 2021's audit reports copy, and I need to check whether the person who has conducted audit for financial year 2021, whether that particular member's name is appearing in the panel of the auditor published by the department. There is a reason behind this, because being a chartered accountants, many chartered accountants conduct audit for housing societies, but all chartered accountants are not eligible to conduct audit for cooperative sector. An auditor who is on the panel of Maharashtra state government, only that particular auditor can conduct audit of any society which is registered under Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. So if any person who is not, or whose name is not there on departmental panel, but audit was completed and audit report is available, then that particular audit report is null and void as per department's instructions, because that particular auditor is not recommended, or that particular auditor is not there on the panel registered by the department. So we need to check whether last audit was conducted by the panel auditor or not. And if it is not conducted by the panel auditor or not, that audit is null and void, or you can call that particular audit as an internal audit, but that particular statutory audit is never completed for earlier financial year. Now next question will arise, who will do the audit for that particular year, that is financial year 2021. So naturally, for as an auditor for financial year 21-22, you cannot conduct audit before completing earlier year's audit. So naturally, you are eligible for conducting audit for the earlier. Next, audit is accepted even when not there in auditor's panel. So naturally, as an auditor, you should not accept this type of audit if you are not on the panel. Audit is accepted without communicating to the previous auditor. As a institute's guidelines, we should conduct audit only after communication with the previous auditor. This is for our disciplinary purpose. Then audit commenced without the consent letter and audit engagement letter given by the society. So, as a practice, society should give audit engagement letter to the auditor, and as an auditor, you should give your consent letter to the society. Based on that, society or even auditor can generate audit order on department's website, and they can start doing audit. Then audit accepted even knowing that previous audit are not done, and society is advised to get the previous audit done by the auditor appointed by the registrar. So if you know that previous year's audit was not conducted or was not properly conducted, and then also you accept the audit, there is a professional misconduct. So you should not do that particular part. Then audit rectification report of previous year is not called or not verified. As an auditor, you should call for last year's audit rectification report in Form O. You should take copy of that particular report on your record. It will be easy for you to get the checkpoints, additional checkpoints, which was raised by the previous auditor. And you need to check whether earlier year's audit rectification reports pending points are cleared or not. Then audit is conducted without reading bylaws applicable to housing society. All the housing societies have their unique bylaw, and you should ask for unique bylaw copy of the society, or which is a legal bylaw copy of the society. You should not rely on the normal bylaws which is available in the market. You should ask for specific bylaw which is applicable for a specific housing society, and you should conduct audit as per provisions of that particular bylaw. Then system generated printouts are not called for. That is books of accounts, statements, balance sheet, income and expenditure accounts. Many times we find that societies maintain their books of accounts in one particular system, and they generate balance sheet and income and expenditure account from another system. They maintain accounts in Tally and generate balance sheet and income expenditure account from Excel. In that particular case, there may be some mismatch in books of accounts due to closing entries made directly in Excel format. So you should ask for system generated printouts of balance sheet and income expenditure account from accounting system Tally to check whether all the balances are matching in both the systems. Maybe there is a format difference from reports generated in Tally and format difference in report generated in Excel, but you can always check the balances whether all the balances are same or not. Then cash and check vouching postings are not checked or verified. Normally we do vouching in case of housing societies very casually, but we need to keep separate checkpoints for cash and check vouchers and their postings. Then comparative analysis of current year's expenditure with previous year expenditure. This is very common point. Then inadequate provisioning of not commented upon or brought to the notice of the society. Many times societies do not make provisions for their day-to-day expenditures. It is not advisable, because we need ultimately we need to follow our accounting standards. So naturally, adequate and sufficient provisions for all expenditures should be in place. Then objections not raised for slashed up expenses or slashed down incomes, as well as for provisions and prepaid expenses or incomes. So we need to be very careful if there is a sudden increase or sudden decrease in any income or any expenditure item. We need to be very careful. Then bank balance confirmation and certificates not verified is also a very serious thing. You need to take on record balance confirmation statements and certificates from bank, and along with that bank reconciliation copy on your record. Then physical FD is not verified with investment register. This can be an area of fraud. Physical fixed deposit receipts verification with investment register and amounts appearing in the balance sheets is very crucial thing. Many a times accrued interest ledger is not tallied in societies, or accrued interest figures reconciliation statement is not available on record. So you need to keep on record all the statement related with accrued interest working. Then major contracts allotted by the society is not inquired or file not verified. So all major contracts you should check very carefully. So if there is any suspense ledger because of members collection in suspense, then you should check that members suspense ledger, because naturally if there is a member suspense collection, there is a difference in members balances also. So you need to comment appropriately in your audit report on this particular point. Then minute book, wherein the decision taken or resolution passed may have major impact on accounts of the society, which is not verified. That is the reason I asked to read all the minute books. Then TDS ledger is not scrutinized properly. This is a very common mistake. Then election and its procedure, if applicable, followed or not. If it is not followed, you need to comment appropriately, because the committee to whom you are dealing may not have authority to do all the activities during that particular year legally, because their position is not firm or their position is not fixed through election process. So you need to take precautions while commenting on this particular point. You need to comment appropriately on this particular point. Total for balance sheet and income expenditure accounts. Many times we find this particular situation also in case of housing societies, especially, that balance sheet is not tallied, and there is a signature of all office bearers and also signature of auditor on that particular balance sheet. You need to be very careful while signing on the balance sheet. So total for balance sheet, income and expenditure accounts, as well as inner column totals, you need to be very careful on that particular thing before signing. Then not discussing the draft audit report with managing committee and not taking their signature. This point was also taken by Sunil sir. I will also discuss this particular point again, because this is very serious point. And many a times after circulation of entire audit report with all the members, managing committee raised the objection that this particular audit report was never discussed with us. So it is better you should discuss your draft audit report with managing committee, insist them for their counter signature on draft audit report, or you can take committee's resolution on that particular draft audit report. It is better to keep this particular draft audit report on email format, so that the committee can never deny points mentioned in your draft audit report. Then not taking management representation later before signing the financial statement and submission of audit report. So this is very important from peer review point of view also, and for otherwise also, that management representation later, you should take a management representation later discussing or mentioning all the crucial points. Say for example, many times societies do not accept that they are eligible for registration under GST Act. Majority of the societies are eligible for GST registration just because they are dealing with security service provider, which is other than a corporate entity, that is an individual or a partnership firm. Many societies, they take security services from individuals or partnership firms just because they don't want to spend money on GST front naturally. So to avoid that particular part, what they do, they accept security services from individuals who are not registered under GST. But GST RCM is equally applicable for housing societies. And as per GST RCM, whenever you are dealing with this type of entities, it is your responsibility to take GST registration under reverse charge mechanism. And naturally, once you take registration under GST, you have to satisfy that RCM provision for security services. And at the same time, though your maintenance is below 7,500, you need to collect GST from your members' collection, which is not covered under definition of regular maintenance. Say, for example, transfer fees, transfer premiums. So this type of burden of law societies feel, and they do not take any type of GST registration. They do not take any type of GST law compliance. So as an auditor, it is always better, you need to put this particular point in your draft audit report also, and also take declaration from management related with whatever is their say on the front of GST in their management representation. So accordingly, you can draft your audit report in a better manner. Then one more common mistake, which again Sunil sir discussed, that is not putting up membership number and auditors panel number, which is important for auditing cooperative societies or cooperative. So while signing the audit report, you should provide auditor's panel number in addition to your regular membership number and firm's registration number. That is a requirement for cooperative. Then I will share this particular Word file or PDF file with you so that you can have list of all these items as a sample. Here you can find letter from society seeking availability of the auditor, which society should seek from auditor prior to their appointment, prior to appointment of that particular auditor. Then letter from CA conveying availability of the auditor, that what auditor should convey to the society that I am available for conducting audit of your society for financial year 21-22. Then letter to auditor conveying appointment along with copy extract of resolution. So society should give appointment letter to the auditor along with extract of resolution that as per resolution number so and so, your firm is appointed for audit of our society. Then request for NOC from previous auditor. Again, this particular format I have attached. Letter to society conveying acceptance of appointment. That particular format is also attached. Auditor's engagement letter is attached. Written representation from the management. I will discuss this particular point. This is a sample format of written representation letter from management, and it should be on the society's letterhead. Society should give this particular MRL on the date prior to the date of audit. Naturally, prior to the date of discussion of audit report by auditor with the society managing committee members. So this particular date is crucial. This particular date should be prior to giving your final audit report and also draft audit report. So if you go through this particular written representation letter, I have discussed this particular written representation letter in detail, and many points I have asked, and I normally asked to my clients also all these points. This is very exhaustive letter or points. Around 64 questions I asked to my clients, and I take their answer on their letterhead before signing this particular audit report. This is required for peer review also, and from your audit report front also. So it is recommended that you should take this particular written representation letter. So I am giving this particular written representation later along with this my PowerPoint presentation. We are running behind schedule, so I will not take this particular PowerPoint presentation because basically majority of the points are related with common audit related provisions, which is already covered by Sunil Nagaonkar sir. So I will not take this particular point in detail. I will share this in my PPT format. I will take one more point. Just hold on. That is taxation specifically for cooperative housing societies. Just hold on. When we talk about taxation of cooperative housing societies, all the direct and indirect taxes are equally applicable for cooperative housing societies. Many times on emotional fronts, many housing societies feel they are totally exempt from filing of income tax returns. So primarily I want to say all the cooperative housing societies are covered under all the provisions of Income Tax Act, and one of the provision of Income Tax Act is every assessee has to file their income tax return, that too within due date mentioned under prescribed under the Act. So naturally all the housing societies are covered under this particular provision. This particular PPT is only from the angle of housing societies, and that too only for income tax angle. There is one more PPT related with GST on housing society, which I am not discussing today, but this is related to Income Tax Act. So definition, residential status, return of income, rates of income tax, all the provisions are applicable to the housing society. I will discuss this particular section, that is section 139(1). As per section 139(1), every person, being a company or firm or being a person other than a company or firm, if his total income or the income of the other person in respect of which is assessable under the Act exceeds the maximum amount which is not chargeable to income tax. So many a times things in our mind that cooperative society is an association of person, and for association of person basic exemption limit slabs are applicable. That type of thing we normally have in our mind, but I will discuss that particular point. But before that, shall on or before the due date of furnishing his return of income, or such person having the prescribed form and verified in the prescribed manner and setting forth such other particulars as may be prescribed. So this particular provision is applicable. If you see the rates of tax for cooperative societies, so rate tax slab for cooperative societies are ₹10 to ₹10,000. So there is no question of basic exemption limit of ₹250,000, which is applicable for normal association of person. I agree that societies are covered under category of association of person, but rates of income tax applicable for cooperative societies are different. That is from ₹10 to ₹10,000, rate is 10%. ₹10,001 to 20,000, rate is 20%. Over 20,000, rate of tax is 30%. Plus cess and surcharge if applicable. So all societies are covered under this particular clause. After amendment in Union Budget for 2021, there are section 115 BAD provisions are also applicable, but basic provisions, that is from ₹10 to ₹10,000, 10% tax is applicable. 10,001 to 20,000, 20% tax, and over 20,000, 30% tax. Now, which type of income is applicable for housing society? Income of a cooperative society other than surplus from contribution from members is taxable subject to deduction under section 80B. So income of a society other than surplus from contribution from members is taxable. Now, first we will discuss about surplus from contribution of members. Now, surplus from contribution of members is not regarded as income. We are discussing a provisions of cooperative housing societies. Cooperative housing societies, what they do, they collect money for their maintenance purpose and they spend on their common objectives. Whatever money left out with the society is called as a surplus. Now, this particular surplus is not taxable out of the concept of mutuality. So, this particular provision is very clear. Surplus from contribution of member is not at all taxable because that is not income at all. Now, next question, immediately people asked to me that, sir, if that is not an income at all, whether we are eligible to fill the profit and loss account or income and expenditure schedule, which is available in ITR forms. In my opinion, that particular question or that particular field is related with profit or loss or income and expenditure from any business activities or any professional activities. You are calling that particular amount as a surplus, but ultimately it is a amount generated from the concept of mutuality. That means it is not actually a surplus from the point of view or from the question which is asked in ITR 5 while filling up the form. So that is not a surplus in real sense. So naturally, in my opinion, while filling up ITR 5, we are not eligible to fill that particular detail because that is not at all from your business or professional activities. Okay, because that is not an income at all on first place. And if it is not an income at all, then there is no question of reporting that particular income through your profit and loss account or income and expenditure account statement, which is asked in ITR form number 5. So the matter is closed related with that surplus or deficit from your income and expenditure account. Now, income of a cooperative society other than surplus from contribution from members is taxable subject to deduction of under section 80P. Now, what type of income is there other than surplus from contribution from members which is taxable to income tax subject to deduction under section 80P? This is a concept of mutuality and exception to concept of mutuality. You can go through this particular field. Right now I am on this particular point, that is other income, that is rental income from parking space allotted to the outsiders, rent from holding and cable operator towers. These two items are covered under the definition of other income and which is taxable. Now, since this is a rental income, either from letting out your parking space or letting out your space for constructing that holding or tower, mobile towers, that particular income is taxable under the head income from house property. And once that item is covered under income from house property, then calculation of or calculation method of income from house property is specifically given under the Income Tax Act. So naturally, gross rental amount less standard deduction less any loan obtained for earning that particular interest, naturally that type of working you need to provide. Rental income from parking spaces or rental income from holdings and cable operator tower is covered under income from other sources, and you need to report that particular income accordingly. In addition to this other income, which is related with rental, there is one more income which we need to discuss over here, that is interest income. As a housing society, whenever you finalize your income and expenditure account, credit side, what we mention all income items, that is collection or contribution from members towards maintenance. Then we mention interest income received from bank. That too, interest income received from bank only on general funds. Income received on sinking fund fixed deposits, we credit to sinking fund register, sinking fund ledger. Interest income on reserve or repairs fund fixed deposit, we credit to respective fund account. So in your income and expenditure account, you are not writing actual contribution from members and expenditure on members. In addition to that, what you are writing? You are writing income received from bank. And any interest received from bank is specifically taxable under specific head, that is income from other sources. So naturally, we need to charge this particular income under the head income from other sources. So like income from house property, society should give details of their interest income under the head income from other sources directly. In income from other sources, there are two areas, that is interest income on saving bank deposits, interest income on fixed deposits. So saving bank interest, you need to give details in saving account, account interest income, and fixed deposit interest you need to mention under fixed deposit interest. Now, when you are going to claim deductions, under next slide, we will discuss about deduction. But before deductions point, please keep this in mind. In case of a housing society, they can have income broadly only under two heads, that is rental income, taxable under the head income from house property, interest income, taxable under head income from other sources. And while giving details of interest income, you need to give separate details, that is saving account interest and fixed deposit interest. In very rare situation, housing society can have a business income also. If society is doing any kind of business activity, then in rare situation, they have to give details of their business income accordingly. So this will end all conclusions or confusions on interest income as well as rental income to the housing society. Sum of all this is called as a gross total income. After gross total income, there is a provision of deductions. So for housing societies, there is a deduction available under section ATP. Two sections are available over here, that is ATP subsection 1 and ATP subsection 2 clause D. ATP subsection 1 is talking about deduction available in all subsections, deduction available under subsection 2. So subsection 2 of section ATP says the sum referred to in subsection 1 shall be the following, namely clause number D, which is specifically applicable for cooperative housing societies, in respect of any income by way of interest or dividend derived by the cooperative society from its investments with any other cooperative society, the whole of such income. Now, conclusion of this is housing societies can claim deduction under section ATP subsection 2 clause D in respect of income by way of interest or dividend derived by the cooperative society from its investment with other cooperative societies, the whole of such income. normally all cooperative societies have accounts with cooperative banks, and cooperative banks gives in return of their investment amount by way of dividend, very nominal amount against their shares, and interest amount on the fixed deposits kept with that particular bank. So in respect of any income by way of interest is eligible for claiming deduction under section 80P subsection 2 clause D. Now you need to keep in mind this particular clause is talking about investment of cooperative society with other cooperative society. We are talking about cooperative bank. For us, cooperative bank is cooperative society. For some reason, department is not accepting this particular view. At least till assessment year 2021, they were not accepting this particular view through their 143(1) intimations. Now they are accepting this particular view for at least for assessment year 21-22. But this particular clause is talking about investment with other cooperative society. Many societies are taking ATP deduction against deposits kept in saving bank account also. In other way, they are taking advantage of section ATP 2D against their interest income in saving bank. In my opinion, interest income earned from saving bank is not eligible for claiming deduction under section ATP 2D, and all societies have to pay tax on at least on interest income which is kept in saving bank. Okay, so this particular deduction is available under section ATP subsection 2D from investments kept with cooperative societies or cooperative bank. So naturally, if you are keeping your fixed deposit receipt with nationalized bank, the entire amount is taxable and you cannot claim this type of deduction. There is one more provision which is dangerous for cooperative societies, that is provision of section 80A subsection 5 and 80AC. These two sections are are very long sections or introduced very long back in the act, but till date societies were not taking any cognizance of this particular section. That is section 80A subsection 5, which is applicable from assessment year 2003-04 onwards. This particular section says the deduction under section 80P is not available unless it is claimed in the return of income by virtue of amended provisions of section 80A subsection 5. So if you want to claim deduction under section 80P, that if you want to say, okay, my fixed deposit receipts are with cooperative bank, I am earning interest income from cooperative bank, that is the reason I need not pay any tax on that particular income. But to say that particular part, what you need to do, you need to file your return of income. This particular clause was introduced in assessment year 3-4. So you can claim this particular deduction only and only through filing of income tax. Section 80AC, which is introduced where in computing the total income of the assessee in the previous year related to the assessment year commencing on or after 1st day of April 2006, but before 1st April 2018, any deduction is admissible under 80IA, 80IB, 80R. All these sections are not that much relevant right now, but under this particular section, from 1st April 2018, the deduction is admissible under this provision of this chapter in respect of certain income. No such deduction shall be allowed unless it furnishes a return of income for the assessment year on or before the due date specified under section subsection 1 of section 139. So this particular section 80AC, this particular section 80AC is saying no such deduction shall be allowed unless the society is filing return under section 139 subsection 1. previously they were saying that deduction is applicable only if you are filing the return. Now they are saying deduction is available only if you are filing return under section 139(1). That means you are filing return before due date of filing of your original return. So if you are filing your return within due date of 139(1), then only you can claim the deduction. Now, what is the due date under section 139(1) for a society? Societies are eligible to, or societies are required to get their books of accounts audited. So naturally, whatever date is eligible for a company, same date is eligible for cooperative society. So for companies, normal due date for filing of return is 31st of October as on today. So for housing society, 31st of October is the due date in normal scenario. There are few amendments after Union Budget 2021. So after Union Budget 2021, they have introduced one more section, that is 115 BAD, that is BAD. As per this particular section, society can directly opt for this particular new section, and they can go for 22% tax plus surcharge at the rate of 10% instead of the regular slab rate of 10%, 20%, 30%, because the 10% and 20% is a negligible amount. For first 10,000, 10%, for next 10,000, 20%, and for balance, 30% tax is applicable for societies. Instead of that, what they can do, they can opt for 22% tax slab. This is applicable, or this is advantageous for societies which do not claim deduction under section 80P. So societies who want to keep their entire fixed deposit receipts with nationalized banks, this particular option is advantageous for them, because as it is, they are not going to claim any deduction which is mentioned in this particular 115 BAD, because to claim deduction under section 115 BAD, they cannot claim any deduction, including deduction under section 80P. So they can directly go for this 115 BAD and they can pay tax at the rate of 22% directly. Then next point is related with tax deduction at source, that is TDS. All the TDS provisions are applicable except few for housing societies. So we need to be very careful. Compliances of other provisions like time limit for deposit of TDS, electronic filing of TDS returns, issuance of system generated form number 16A, all provisions are equally applicable for cooperative societies, including housing societies. So as a chartered accountant, I should not say, or as a chartered accountant speaker, I should not say much on this particular TDS provisions to all other fellow chartered accountants. So all provisions of TDS, which is applicable for all the clients, company clients, same TDS provisions are applicable for cooperative societies. Before this particular amendment, what was the scenario? That particular point is mentioned in this particular slide, not actually relevant as on today. Tax audit in case of a housing society, tax audit is a rare situation, because no housing society is involved in business activity. So tax audit provisions will not be applicable in most of the cases. But yes, all points covered under section 44AA and 44AB are applicable for housing societies. These are few FAQs. Income and expenditure account, surplus or deficit, whether to report on income tax return. In my opinion, no need to show that particular point. Then fixed deposit with nationalized banks, private banks, yes. So you can keep fixed deposit with nationalized banks and private banks. Now there is no restrictions, but yes, there is a tax liability because if you keep fixed deposit with nationalized or private banks, you cannot claim deduction under section 80P. Saving bank account interest is fully taxable, whether it is kept in cooperative bank or nationalized bank, it is fully taxable. How to file income tax return? Income tax return filing is same as income tax return filing for AOP. So for AOP for assessment year 21-22 or for assessment year 2021 onwards, it is applicable under ITR form number 5. So ITR form number 5 is applicable for housing societies for filing their income tax return. While filling this ITR form number 5, you need to give details of audit done under any other act. That is, we are conducting audit under Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. So we need to give details of this other state act, auditor under that particular other act, auditor's name, audit completed date. All these details you need to give. Otherwise, you cannot claim that particular benefit of section 139 one due date, which is equally applicable for company audits. You need to fill that particular clause that audit is applicable, yes. Under other act, that is a state act, Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act, you can mention. And other acts, auditor's name and audit completion date you need to mention. Then how to fill ITR form? ITR form is to be filled same way or same manner as normal AOP. Only thing, in my opinion, you should not fill income and expenditure account details. How to reply intimation under section 143.1. Under 143.1, they deny what we experience. They deny your ATP deductions. So you can apply for rectification under section 154 for claiming ATP's deduction, and they will again deny under the rectification order under section 154 your ATP deduction. In that case, you can go for filing of appeal if you want to claim say deduction under section ATP, because system is not allowing deduction under section ATP. There are many decisions of tribunal or even high courts in favor of the society for allowing deduction under section ATP. So if system generated intimations or rectification orders are not allowing you deduction under section ATP, there is no option but to go for filing of an appeal. Then TDS provisions, all TDS provisions and all GST provisions are equally applicable for cooperative societies. With this, I will wait over here because we are already exceeded half an hour of our session. If there are any questions, I will take those questions. There is one question, sir. Society having only commercial shops will be treated as a housing society. Yes, society having only commercial shops is also covered under the clauses of housing society. That particular type of society is called as a premises cooperative society. And all the provisions of housing societies are equally applicable for premises cooperative society. So naturally, society having all commercial shops are also covered under provisions of housing society, which we discussed just now. Because in case of audit of a premises society or audit of a housing society, there is not much difference. Only thing, in case of a premises society, slightly modification in their bylaws, but more or less all the bylaws are same for premises as well as housing society. Well, now next is benefit of 7,500 per month for GST exemption, whether it will be available to. Yes, premises. So this particular benefit of 7,500 is based on a one particular circular or one particular notification issued by the GST department. Now that particular circular is clearly mentioned. They have not mentioned about cooperative sector or anything other. They have mentioned a residents welfare association. Now residents welfare association, the word or the intention is very clear. That particular benefit is available for residents welfare association. So if in your society all are commercial shops, that particular benefit is definitely not applicable. And if that particular benefit is not applicable, 7,500 benefit is not applicable. So for all societies registered under premises type, they cannot take this particular benefit of 7,500 from rupee 0. Everything is taxable under GST. In case of a mixed society, society having residential units as well as few commercial shops, they can take benefit because the dominant nature of that particular society is of Residents Welfare Association. The association is dominantly a Residents Welfare Association. If there is any other question, you can directly ask through chat box or even through direct question also. Otherwise, over to the organizers.
Yeah. So now I request Hiren Jogi, sir, Chairman of Akola branch, to take the charge for their vote of thanks and closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. A very good afternoon. We had a great start of a weekend with a session having two, or rather I would say three best speakers. Sunil Nagaonkar sir, an auditor of cooperative banks, and Ramesh Prabhu sir and Amit More sir on housing societies. I am sure we all got to learn many new things today. I hope all the queries are already solved. I, on behalf of all the 5 branches, offer a hearty vote of thanks to the speakers for their knowledge sharing and all the participants for sparing this time for this session. I wish many more sessions on such topics will be organized. Have a great weekend and thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hiren.
So, with the permission of the speaker and all the chairmen of the all branches, shall I declare that the session is concluded?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you, Sunil sir. Thank you very much, Amit sir. Thank you very much. And Prabhu sir, Prabhu sir, Prabhu sir
is online.
Hi, Prabhu sir.
Yes, Prabhu sir है, लेकिन mute पर है. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Prabhu sir, Amit sir, Sunil sir, for giving your valuable time and taking this. We have started at 10 and we are concluding at 1:30. And we have, I think this is also a short time. We can have full day program on this type of subjects. So, Sunil sir and Prabhu sir, Amit sir, I request you to please, we will think on it and we will plan on that way. So, thank you very much. Let's conclude this session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
पवन सर मीटिंग एंड करूं?
हाँ, end meeting for all.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.